G'day, citizens. Welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Joined today by Algared, who's looking very tired. How you
I
feeling?
am feeling tired.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
start here up again, so yeah.
we are talking about moving the times around a little bit because Algared has possibly new times coming because of his school teaching stuff. So we may have to move things around a little bit. So we're going to leave it until he finds out what his schedule is for this year before we do that. But greetings, everyone, nonetheless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Greetings, salutations, and start the bot.
We are hopefully getting to the end of the quiet period, Algared. CRG should be getting back to work this week. There was a patch last night, so I have no doubt that there's already people doing so, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
What is up? So yeah, let your questions come in. Hey, Rigsy, a few regular names that I know. Yeah, this 5:30 starts killing me. Yeah, you and me both, Rigsy. Right. Good to see a lot of the regulars coming in. Oh, I need to fix that.
Always nice to see the regulars coming in.
Yes.
Although, while I'm complaining about the time and because it is early, I have to feel for Sandgroper. Sandgroper is in Western Australia, which means for him it is even earlier.
Yeah, but he's not even awake yet. He won't be up for another 2 hours. No. He gets up at like 4 a.m. to see us for an hour.
Well, he was the first messenger on the YouTube, so
yeah, right, cool.
Means he's up already and grunting and complaining.
Yeah, so the timings are obviously hard because we have to kind of find a sweet spot that hits every corner of the globe, and it's not exactly easy. So it's very early here in Australia. So they, some of us are getting up at around 6 a.m. Obviously, me and Algared kick this off at about 6 a.m. in the winter and 5 a.m. in the summer. And if we go any later, we tend to miss the UK audience because they're starting to go off to bed. And if we go, as I said any earlier, we miss the Australians. So, and it puts the Americans kind of in that afternoon to evening sweet spot.
So picking the time, it was.
Yeah, it's trying to hit everyone, get everyone in. Yeah.
But it does make it, and that's our start time. So to start at that time means we're actually earlier. And prep and discussions and stuff that we do beforehand. So, hey, that's our world problems, isn't it?
Yes. We probably won't get CIG back into the swing of things. I reckon it's usually around the end of January, isn't it, or towards the end? Because there hasn't been anything on there at all. They did November's monthly report. They also have this, though, Algared. This will bug out because I forgot to do it. Yeah, there we go. But they're doing an arena mode schedule. This is the only piece of news that has dropped all week, essentially.
No, there was other news that dropped this week.
What was the other one?
In their weekly report, they also announced that sign-ups for Crux Cup have started. The Crux Cup, 940.
I did not see that. Okay.
Or 54 have started. Okay. So, and as people know, I'm a big Crux Cup fan. So, yeah, Crux Cup is coming. Every category of ship, you name it, you can race it. And it's at my favourite planet this year.
Microtech. No.
I was thinking the other day, I was thinking about the problem of the old settlers, the original people who were in Stanton's system before it was sold off.
Yeah.
And we know what Hurston does with their illegal settlers because they send hit squads out to get them.
Yeah.
But there were settlers on Microtech. What did Microtech do?
They sent out the Eddies.
They created an apex predator.
That's what the Eddies are. They are the Eddies. They got morphed in. They got bitten. They're like vampire Eddies. I don't know.
No, is that what it is? No, but
we'll find out eventually. I reckon.
Created an apex predator in the wild. It kills humans. How did they deal with their squatters? They sent an apex predator out to get them. They're worse than Hurston.
So I have seen a few people playing these Arena Commander modes streaming. I know Rigsy was playing with, I believe it was Rigsy, was playing with Expat and McGilly. They've been playing this, and a few people are enjoying the new tank mode. We wanted to do a little tournament when we first heard about this back in September, but it's taken that long to get it stabilized. And it's not regularly in yet. It's again, it's a thing that they're turning off and on at the moment. So hopefully by 3.23 maybe we'll get this more regularly. Have you had a chance?
Hopefully it'll be sorted and more fluid.
Have you had a chance to look at the tank mode yourself yet?
Sorry, no, I haven't. I haven't had a chance to have a look at it. I'd be a liar if I said that tanks really took on my fancy, but which is strange because I really did like playing War Thunder and even Model Tanks when it first came out, and doing the tanks in those, but. Yeah, I haven't got into the tanks in Star Citizen, and probably because there's just at the moment it still feels like there's not enough variation. It's just so
it was kind of cool to test out when I tested it. I haven't tried it since late last year, but I think it will take off if they get it right because it just allows you to drop in and play. That is something you can't do right now.
Was it you were saying before we started that John was playing with someone? Was it Call of Duty player?
Yeah, so it was so our mate John Citizen. I said to Algared years ago, and I think I've said it to some of the other influencers, until this game has got the young guys regularly joining because they don't have the funds, that's where you know the tipping point's going to occur. And this guy was a 21-year-old Call of Duty streamer that was trying out Star Citizen, and I was just like his name was it had KD in his name, so kill death ratio type thing. And yeah, I just went, yeah, he's those people I've been waiting to see come across. So it's showing you the mainstream effect that this is going to start to appeal to now. So we're in that point, that tipping point for sure. Looking forward to it. Right. Should we start with the question, Algared?
Yes, we should.
Obviously, once the questions end, the stream ends. Yes.
Right. We take our time starting to let them build up.
Yep.
Because you guys will complain if we close our stream off too early.
Currently got 7 questions from YouTube, none for Twitch. Twitch, come on up your game.
Yeah. Well, it's Twitch is our smaller partner.
Yeah.
I know you guys might not like it, but it is.
Oh, it's just how it is. I at some point, and I actually reckon it might even be this year, right? With them starting to work a lot more on Star Citizen, you will see me and Algared starting to play this more often as well, right? It's just for us, it's we do this for passion reasons. We don't do this for profit or anything, right? So we play the game when it is fun to do so. And at the moment, it's just not like I don't want to sit down for 3 hours and play for a time period, which is what the algorithm kind of wants you to do, right? So unless I can actually sit down and have fun for 3 hours, I won't do it, which is why I did that Pyro preview, because I knew I could sit down for 3 hours and explore Pyro. But I can't necessarily sit down for 3 hours and do Salvage and Reclaimer. I could do it maybe an hour and a half, but there's just otherwise I'm just going through the motions and it's kind of boring. So I don't want to ever feel like I'm just sitting there, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for you, Algared, just going through the motions. I don't want to do that. I want to play an actual game. So yeah.
Yeah, I sometimes just like to fly the ship. So those times, if I'm doing that, streaming would be good. But then it's just
Yeah, so we will be moving into some more gameplay, long story short, and we just got to decide whether we're going to put that on Twitch exclusively or we'll divide it between the two, but we'll probably ask you guys about it at the time. Might even, to keep things separate, we might even make a second YouTube and call it like Info Plays or something like that, or we'll come up with a name, or we'll see what you guys want and what we want, and take everything into account. We did have people, when I did the Pyro preview, Algared, a lot of people said, oh, it's good to see you actually playing the game for a change and things like that. So it was a bit different, but when I did that, I did do it on YouTube as well, so I did it on both. So yeah, anyway, right, first question, Algared.
Anyway, first question is from Warring Pro. and they say, what is the best sub 100 ship for a concierge backup? Just wanting to spend leftover credit on a runabout. Best runabout in game.
So I went at this from a different bit. Like last year, I would have said the cutter, right?
Yep.
Now the Saulian's out. Now I picked one up, and I know you picked one up as well. But there is something about that ship and new younger people. It just really speaks to. Especially if you've got someone like a Call of Duty player that I was mentioning. But I had a mate that he's an FPS player. He's about 10 years younger than me, and he just fell absolutely in love with that Saulian alien ship. There is something about how it moves and articulates that just speaks to people. So I think it's a really great ship to show off to people. And I'd be looking at ships like Chris said to you and me, don't buy more ships, get other people into the game. I think if we want this game to survive, we have a slight responsibility to help people get into the game, especially at the moment when it's hard to do so with tutorials, etc. And I think that would be one of the better ships, that and probably the Cutter and the Avenger, the usual staples. But the Saulian's just one that really is speaking to people. I don't know if you found the same, Algared, but yeah.
No. It's true. I think while last year I would have certainly said the Cutter, and I still do like the Cutter. Again, the C8, someone seeing chat in Cragon is saying that Becerra is a great little ship.
It is
certainly while for doing bunkers and giving you that hands-on med play, same as a Cutter.
There is no perfect snub, right? This is one of the things we do when it's essentially a mini fix my fleet that you guys should be able to do as well. And as I was saying to John, he was helping this guy out. I said, so John, have you asked him what he wants to do in game? That's where we always start with a fix my fleet, right? So you ask them what they want to do, and that instantly cuts most of the ships away. If you're under $100, it's obviously a generalized starter and there's not as many options. But again, it just helps you narrow it. And I think that's really important that me and Algared will tell you is if you pick a ship, right? So when I was talking to this FPS guy, it kind of became very clear to me very quickly that the Corsair was something that he wants to look at. But what becomes really important is showing him the Constellation and the Redeemer, because they're either side of that, and it might turn his head, right, or their head. So you've got to make sure to make sure what you're showing them is correct. You've got to give them the options either side of it, so they come along with you. You know what I mean? You can't just go, that's it, that's the only one you want. Put them in a field, like a cone, and then they will steer and dictate and help you to direct them. Is how we do it. Yeah.
I remember the time I showed my nephew that this is a ship we've got, and it was during IAE, and then I said, "Come with me. We'll go check out the stadium." And we took him in, and then we're walking up the ramp, and the first ship you could see was the Reclaimer.
Yeah,
it was just gog-smacked. He said, "Look at that!" And I said, "Yeah, that's just a Reclaimer." Yeah, it's a Reclaimer. That's one of the bigger ships. He said, "That's a ship?" And I said, "Yeah. We can take it out and fly it if you like." But that kind of staggered him, so.
There are some other cool ships that are like that. Like someone in chat mentioned the Reliant, right? The Reliant is a really cool looking ship, but it just doesn't, once you get in it and start playing, it just doesn't have the functionality. I have no doubt at some point when it has a fix, a gold pass, it'll see a renaissance. I quite honestly, do you remember when they talked about it, moving it to Mirai? I would love to see when they rework it that it actually gets moved to Mirai. Or maybe it's like they did it as a collab, so it's half Misk, half Mirai. And so the combat version and there's a racer version that are Mirai, and then the others go to Misk. I think that'd be really cool. It's like our first internal collaboration.
Yeah, I could see them doing something like that, whether we're doing military as that, or whether they'd give a heavy industry side. But yeah, I could see them doing something like that, where they take one of their existing ships and say, "Hey, Mirai have just put their spin on the 300."
Yeah.
You thought, I know the 300's Origin. I just.
Yeah, I kind of looked at it afterwards, and I was like, well, why did you have to pick one? Why can't it be both? If it's essentially like a father-son type company, why can't you have them work together? It's literally the most no-brainer together.
Why does the Razor the military version of the LX Razor have to be a MISC. Why can't or a Miro? Why can't that be say MISC?
Even if you put remember when it originally in the concepts it had those folding wings, so the wings actually folded up too. That would have been, like there's so many things they can go back and do to fix that, so to speak.
I'd still like to see. I know this is. I'll forget that because that was actually an Origin dream. I'd still love to see a gull wing door on an Origin ship. Doesn't have to be the whole cargo deck as it used to be, but I'd love to see that type of gull wing door just as a throwback. But yeah, I'm starting to get my.
You could sit on a vehicle. I reckon a vehicle would work. Something like that.
Yeah, a vehicle would work, but I'd love to see that with Origin, just because it throws back to that DeLorean aspect. It's almost the 300 was almost a throwback and a tip of the hat to Back to the Future.
That thing would sell like hotcakes. I'm telling you, if they made like a flying car that literally converted and then drove on the ground, and it looked just happens to look a little bit like the DeLorean. I don't know about you guys. Like, let us know in chat, but I would buy one. Hands down. The DeLorean. I've got DeLorean Lego out there, so yeah, I'm all in. I love that's one of my favorite movies. It definitely speaks to me more than almost any other series of movie. That and Star Wars are probably my two big things. So yeah.
I did, as Chris said in YouTube chat, the original 300i from a CryEngine era was the best, and I loved it. I really did like the original 300i, same as I like the original Freelancer with that, the entrance way. But the new version is more versatile, and you can get more out of it. And as much as I disliked the sacrifice of those gull wing doors on 300, it gave it so much more.
It's still a bit high up now. It's really weird to look at. Like I'm starting to wonder if like high landing gear is an Origin staple. Like the only one that kind of really doesn't is the 100 series. Like everything else, like 400i, everything 300 up essentially. Like the M50 and the 85X don't, but they're all really high. Like way higher than most.
Even the 100i's landing gear was too high for it to fit into the Carrack hangar, because it made the ship sit too high. So even that case, that was sitting too high. So yeah,
you can only hope eventually when ships get reworked, they metric. I just can't believe metrics wasn't a thing from the beginning. It would have just simplified everything.
Americans. That's all I thought. Say Americans and Imperial.
Well, yeah, probably.
That always makes me laugh when I think Americans are the great defenders of democracy. Stick with the imperial system, the measurement.
This is true. All right, next one is
the Warring Pro. I kind of hope that sort of answers your question.
Yeah,
there are quite a few ships that are sub $100.
Yeah. You could also you could get one that's as you want as just a runabout, because he does mention a runabout.
It's credits he's got left over, so he's looking for him. It's not one he's going to be giving away.
But and
I think.
But again, like that's why what I leaned into is getting other people into the game. Once you get to concierge, you don't need to buy any more ships. You've done your part well and truly.
Just try ships out. And pick the one. If you're after runabout, pick the one that best suits you.
Yeah. See how it does. And again, what gameplay you're into. The same analogy we said, we're showing it to other players. You can use it on yourself as well. Yeah.
And even what one best goes with other ships you've got.
Yeah.
So
exactly. That's kind of what I meant.
Carrack, then 100i is no good because it doesn't really fit in the Carrack, but an Aurora does.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Waffle 458 says, "What is your all-time favorite ship, either released or not?" Algared, I'll let you start. It's his third javelin. It's your third javelin, not the first or the second, the third one. Do you know? Space didn't know you had 3 javelins the other day. I was on stream. He went, "What? He's got 3 javelins!" Like that. That was the response that Space gave. So you're probably in trouble next time you run into Space. By the way.
Oh. Space didn't realise. Oh,
And Space
yeah.
got his referral one recently, so he's hit the cap on the referrals, so he's actually got a javelin now too.
Well, lucky him. Favorite ship. I think I'd have to go with Idris because that was the one. It's hard because I wanted the Carrack because the Carrack was exploration and that appealed. But Crucible because I always end up playing the healer, cleric type, and that to me was the healer of ships.
Yeah.
But the Idris, I wanted because I wanted to do that deep space exploration, and the Carrack felt too small. Whereas the Idris felt like the Enterprise, the large crew, the NPCs. So you'd have the ability when they were talking, that.
Love you too. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Vector Parallax. Appreciate it. As for me, it's very similar. Where my favorite is the Reclaimer, but they are all very close behind. So things like the Polaris, the Crucible, the Endeavor, and it's all those thoughts of the gameplay. Because again, when you've speculated for so long, like most of us have at this point, you are going on feeling for a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
And the one that spoke to me as in feeling was the Reclaimer. And as I see it kind of, and we're all seeing it now, kind of come into reality, it's still speaking to me quite a lot. And that exploration industrial gamut where it's doing, two of the two professions I like, exploring and industrial, is just very unique to that Reclaimer.
And the Reclaimer also had that really nice aliens appeal. It really did suck into that and you got in there and you went, this is Nostromo.
I can sit here and rattle off, and I know you can do it too, Algared. Like there's all these ships that we can look at. I can't wait to see this. So Banner, Merchantman, Polaris, like it just goes on and on. Like Crucible, Endeavor, it just goes on and on. Yeah.
And people say, when's this coming? What are you happy? Are you excited? What's the ship you're most excited to see? I'm excited to see them all.
Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to say on the same page. Like there's no one awesome ship in this game. It is the combination of the entire game that speaks to me. Like if I get sick of one thing, right? Like how many games do you get sick of and you move on to another game, right? This game is big enough that you should hopefully never get, like, it's the forever game. You should never.
You get sick of flying your ships. You go drive tanks. You get sick of driving tanks. You go play infantry. You get sick of playing infantry. Go mining or go salvage.
Get sick of industry. Blah blah blah. Yeah. There's always some other industry you can go to. Some other gameplay you can go to.
And go to Terra. Get sick
of Terra.
Get
sick of Australia. Go to America. No.
I think that also ties in with why Sandy took on that pirate persona, because she didn't want to be tied down to one area. She wanted to go see everything, and I think that kind of fits as well. So,
and I almost kind of want to do a poll on it. Is it one ship for you guys, or is it the sum of its parts? You know what I mean? Because for me, it's the sum of its parts. It's like I even look at ships that don't seem that appealing to me. Like a lot of people think I hate Origin ships, right? But because you know me close the most, it's not. I just want them to do more, right? And I eventually think they will do more, right? And then I'll eventually buy an Origin ship. I just want that full game. I want that whole thing. And Space says this as well, and you say it and I say it. We all kind of say it. You need to have negative tendencies on all ships so they have a niche, a balance and all that type of thing. And even the one in this picture, the raft, this raft is not working that great at the moment, but I have no doubt that this will be amazingly fun to use when it's up and running and it's actually working as a sky crane. That'll be heaps of fun, just me and you go out for a day and go rafting, and then we go somewhere else and do something else.
Sorry. With my usual greeting line, we go fishing.
Yeah, but you get my point, right? Like you can go out for a day and just it totally changes the game. And I think the appeal for me was originally it was this really cool space game, but as it's grown and mature and developed, it's not one thing, it's the sum of its parts. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you guys want to do a poll? Someone, if you guys want a poll, just type poll in chat and I'll do one. But I'd just be interested to see where everyone else sits. Have you guys, the longer you've been here, have you kind of like moved into, it's not just this one thing for me anymore. Like I'm not just a bounty hunter. I am everything. Like and I want to explore everything. I came here for this, but I've evolved into this, or are you still just, I want that one thing? I'd be really interested to know if you guys.
Yeah.
They want polls. All right, we'll do one in a minute.
And one of the guys was Vector Parallax was saying, yeah, hit the whitewater. So he wants to see you go rafting.
Yeah.
But I think whitewater and a raft would be going for a jump point and trying to find a quicker route. I think they'll be the ones that really, that's where you'll go down the alternate tunnels, I think, and possibly die.
I'm trying to think how to ask the question now. Is it what type? Is it gameplay or is it ship? What type of are you interested in? Yeah, are you interested in?
Yeah,
one ship.
Is it an individual ship or is it the gameplay it offers? Hard to get the wording, but
yeah.
But yeah. So again, I like those last two questions. They're kind of they seem simple.
Well, they were loaded.
To them.
Yeah, they were loaded. That's for sure.
Yeah, loaded questions. So, too bad if you thought it was a simple question. We have no, we don't have dance pole limited respawns. Sorry. While you're doing that, Jodimo has a question. Jodimo says, a few months ago, you did 2 shows where you discussed how you would attack and defend a Polaris.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, I can say right off the bat, I can say SA's not here and Badges is kind of taking a break. Yep. So at the moment, I don't have the boys to do that. SA's been deployed. He left in October. He won't be back for 10 months. So he's still got like 7 months to his back. So I'll have it to reach out to, we do have someone that might be willing to fill in for SA, but if you want to do another one, we'll have to wait. If you want those 2 boys specifically. But yeah, sorry to cut you off the path.
Yep. And his question was going to be, based on that, how would you attack or defend an Idris?
Well, that would be the next episode, and that'd be giving it away, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that was the question. That was actually their question. So,
yep. Yeah. So, yes, I'm going to answer that with like, I think we'll leave that for an episode of Command and Control.
Yeah, it's one we'd like to do.
Because when we sit down and do that, the reason why it's me and the military guys is it's to get this different perspective, because we get stuff out of it. Like the military stuff get this gameplay stuff for me that they just don't ever consider because they're very military focused, and that's why we do it with a Navy guy and an Army guy, so we get the 2 different kind of perspectives. And if I had an Air Force guy, I'd probably chuck him in there as well. And basically I learn a lot from the real world part of it because I'm not a military guy and I'm not military inclined. And it's really interesting because as it's gone by and we've done those episodes, we have got similar things that have been going, like that they've taught me about certain things and I've taught them things. And it's really interesting because as you go through it, you have these, it starts out, you're doing your own, it's kind of like speculating on your own. And then you come in and you quickly go, oh shit, why didn't I think of that? Oh shit. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
I like the times where you come in and you both have exactly the same reason, or not reason, but it looks like you got exactly the same reasoning. But when you actually break it down, you've come at it from totally different side points, different viewpoints. But what you've got is something very similar. But I always think the military guys, when they approach it,
maybe I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm wondering if we should add to it, like at the end, we basically do a merge fleet where we kind of take what we've learned and rebuild it again. That's probably a cool idea. So yeah, we're definitely going to do that again. We did really enjoy the Polaris one. That actually came out, I'm pretty sure that came out of when I went to the Philippines, by the way, because it was one of the ones we put in the bank because I was going to be away for a month. So that would have been more than 6 months ago now.
Yeah. And if it's not that, then it's even longer.
Yeah. So yeah.
So, Waffle has a question. Their second question is, what modules are top picks for the Endeavour at this current point in time?
Just 2 secs. So we're at 91% for all ships gameplay and 90%. That's on Twitch, and we're at 90% on YouTube. So that's really interesting that they are both really close like that. It's not always the case, but considering,
So basically, we're all whales.
yeah, we're all looking for a bit of everything. So that's good to see. I like not to chuck the other 10% of people under the bus, but that kind of shows you vast majority of us are looking at everything. We are all well-rounded individuals. The other 10% of you are crazy lunatics. No, I'm just kidding. But you get what I'm trying to say, right? Like that shows that we've matured. As we've sat here and watched this, it's like, well, I'm not just interested in this. I want everything. And I know I'm like that, and I know you're like that.
Yeah, well,
it's just interesting to see that is most of us.
That type of approach, though, is dangerous. It can lead to Pokemon syndrome.
It is. So Lunamar is saying it's a little bit subjective there. I think it's subjective within it. Like that's why I left it very broad, right? But what we're trying to say, Lunamar, is most of us don't just want to come in and do this. We want to be able to eventually do it all, right? And that's why I left it vague like that, because you're obviously going to get the person that wants to come in and do a medical and repair, and maybe every once in a while do cargo. That it's their gamut. But the thing I'm trying to get past is we no longer see people coming in as frequently that just want to do X. They want to do a gamut, and that is interesting because it shows that the game is going to go. It makes it more of a forever game. Is what I'm trying to get to. Like, you're not just going to come in, get sick of it, go off and play the next game. You're going to come in, you're going to discover stuff and get involved and just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's important for the longevity of the game, obviously.
Yep. Indeed.
All right, the Twitch poll went up to 96% there right at the end. So yeah.
Lovely.
Right, what are we up to? Waffle458. Another question by him says, "What modules are top picks for the Endeavour at this current point of time?" And you read that previously because I'm an idiot.
I did read that.
Right.
But question.
It's really hard because there's a lot. Like as I was saying to you recently, I swear it was you, or was it someone else? Might have been Waffle himself actually. There are a lot of the gameplay associated with that thing isn't out yet. Right, like we've got agriculture, science, and it is the one breadwinner for some of those. I know science is not big, you know what I mean, right? There's a couple of gameplay pieces that it's the only ship holding them up. There is no other ships that does what it does, and until that gameplay comes down the line,
there's no other ship that really does the modular enables you to overclock systems, because the Super Collider is the thing that really gears you up for that.
I think if I was to kind of force myself to buy a module, which I probably wouldn't do, I'd probably take the same approach as earn big and earn down, wouldn't you? So I'd buy the most expensive module and just earn backwards.
I've always looked at it in terms of, at present, all the modules are sub fighter price. They're all in that $100 range.
Yeah.
At most. A lot of them are a $30, $40 range. But even if you triple the price or quadruple the price, most of them would still be in that sub fighter pricing, which means they should be really, really cheap to get in game.
Luna Mary just updated a question and said she was actually referring to the modules as subjective.
Yep.
I'd mixed them up. Yep, sorry. Yeah,
I'm aware they're referring to the actual modules of a ship.
Yep.
And so when I'm looking at the modules for that, if you quadruple the price 5 times, and the ones that are $100 now would be $500. So they'd be the ones I'd be getting now if I was buying any modules. Which modules do I think? I think it comes down to gameplay game. If you're an Inforunner, you're doing the selling and gathering of information, then you want the supercomputers and the ones that do the breaking code. Because that way you can actually decrypt code.
And one of the reasons we don't recommend those modules is because you can just spend it elsewhere on other ships. So so if you've got everything like Algared, right, then buying the modules and you just want to spend more money, so to speak, then get some modules, right? But if you look at $150 for the biopods or whatever they're called, right? That's $150 towards another ship. Or can you get more use out of, say, something like an SRV Vulture than the actual pods? And you have to ask yourself that. It becomes personal or subjective, as Luna Mario put it, right? So for me, modules are an earning game, right? I look at a $150 module and go, I would rather put $150 to a second Endeavour, right? That's where my brain goes, right? But again, I'm not you. I cannot answer that question. And that's why this is so hard, because you have to sit down and look. We've only got speculation to go on at this point. And again, we have these generalized rules. It's head versus heart again. This internal argument again. And we'll advise you the best way we can. But
Yeah.
as we said before, we don't always follow our own rules either, because your heart will override your head sometimes. But
Yeah. And I think if you're looking at buying modules now, go for the big ones, because they're
kind of where I go too.
Everything's going to go up in price.
Yep.
Even the module will go up in price.
Yep.
But the $20, $30 modules, even if they go up in price, they're still going to be, I think, sub 100. Even if they go up 5 times, they're still going to be sub 250. And I've always said, 250 was kind of that silly fighter type bracket.
Well, how unique do you reckon it's going to be? For example, let's look at the big one. The big one is the biopods, right? How unique do you think it's going to be to have a farm in space? Do you think there's another ship that's going to do that? And is it going to do it to the same size as the Endeavour? And I'd have to say no. The other one is the same as the Hope. Like, is there going to be a bigger hospital ship? Now, this is all potentially yes in the future, but we just don't know right now, right? So again, for me, it's those modules that are unique. Like the Super Collider, that's a 2.5 module. So I could actually see 2 slots rather than a single slot. So it really depends. Like, is it going to be better to have 4 separate farm ships or 1 massive farm ship? Again, we can't answer that, right? Because we just don't know, right? So I think the safer bet is, if there is as Algared said, it's those 2 things: the size, but also what speaks to you. And but realistically, I don't think you need any of them. I think you can put them in game.
Yeah.
But
so Matt P has a question. I'm going to pull it up early because it's down on the list. But it's related to this, and he says he's confused about the Endeavour's modules.
Right.
It can fit too large and a small, or is it more flexible than that?
So essentially, they really did it in a really weird way, because the whole ship is symmetrical. So they call it, like, I can't even remember how they name it now, because it's like 2.1.
It's got 6 slots.
Yeah, it's got 6 slots, but it has to be symmetrical to itself. So really, it's only got 3 slots.
So it's got 3 slots of pairs.
That is pairs. That's a good way to do it. And 3 slots of pairs. Some of them, symmetrical. Wait,
some of them take two of their
3 slots.
So they take 4 slots rather than 2.
Hang on, Algared. 3 slots of symmetrical pairs is what I'd call it.
Yeah, because they confused everyone with the way they were doing it.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, it's got 6 slots." But everything's in pairs. And I said, why don't you just say it's got 3 slots?
Yeah. So things like the Super Collider, of the 6 slots, I'm just going to say 3, right? Because it simplifies it, right? So the 3, right? It takes the front 2. Then you've got one like the hospital module that takes, I believe it takes the back 2, and then the front one becomes the cargo module, but it's underneath and stuff like that. So I'd have to go back and look at it again. It's been a while. Actually, we can bring it up and go through it if you really want to. But the way it was described was really, they should have had diagrams to show it. But when you read it through, it's not really 6 slots. It's 3 symmetrical paired slots. Is how I would word it. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically they've got some that take 2 of those 3 head slots, but most are individual.
I don't think there is a single 3 slot, by the way. There is the biggest is a 2, and I don't, from memory, there's no single 3 slot.
No one that is just 3 slot.
Yeah. So again, it gives that flexibility, so you can kind of mix and match. The only one I'm aware of is, I think there's 2 that are 2 slots, and the rest are all singular slot. And then there are ones that are meant to work with particular modules and stuff like that. Like the hangar is meant to be, for a long time they talked about the hangar only working with the hospital and stuff like that. So I reckon that'll change though. Like why they
may change that. And you could see the reason why they were trying to do that, because they didn't want every ship to suddenly become a carrier. And people were I can remember people originally talking, I'll get two hangar modules and put them on it. And so the whole thing where I think, well, you can't really do that. But yeah, it's one of those ships where the modules are going to change the gameplay. So you've got a living pod module, a fuel module.
So I'm just going to cut it over here, because I've actually found one on a wiki here, right? And this kind of shows you it's always 2 by something, right? That's how you know it's a matched pair, or that symmetrical pair system that we're talking about, right? So realistically, all you're really looking at is the back number, right? And so as we said, Collider pod is 2, and the medical pod is 2. Everything else is 1. Whoever came up with a way to explain it this way made it really complicated. Symmetrical pairs, 3 slots is all you need to kind of remember, and just read the number on the right-hand side. So most of them are 1, and then the rest, there's only 2
and you
that
got
are 2.
and you
Yeah.
count up to 3. So
Yeah, and some of them do need to be sit in a particular position. Like I know I think the telescope pod's going to be right at the front or something like that, and things like that. So the ones that go behind it are other choices, but they do talk about that on the individual modules.
And the biopods, for example, you can't fit 3 of those onto your ship because the domes themselves actually block it. So one goes at the front, one goes at the back, and then you get a second pair, or the third pair. The third slot goes,
One thing I will add, Algared, is you and I have talked about this before, is other ways they could do this to fit this in, and that's instead of just making the ship like this flat plane, they could actually go into 3D, and so therefore all of a sudden you could have like 3 staggered pods, and it would look like very circular, if you think of it.
I'd like
almost like a hexagon. So you'd have a horizontal one, a vertical one, and then like 1 or 2 diagonals. I don't know.
I'd like to see them even do something like a tie in the whole series where Constantina's.
Yep.
It's one. No, but they won't. I can't see them doing that because
so much extra work.
Because if you made it only opens this far if you've got one module on, and it opens up the next. It'd be effectively 3 different ships or multiple different ships you'd be doing.
Yeah. So at the end of it, though, I have no doubt they'll come back and re-explain this. I hope we've kind of cleared that up a little bit for you. It is very confusing. It's one of the most confusing, convoluted things that they've ever explained, and the way they went about it was just, I can't believe someone else didn't go over this and correct it, because it's designed by someone that's so in it that they couldn't step back and simplify it.
I do think they did talk about it on their lunchtime streams way back in the day, and did try and explain it that way, because that's certainly how they went. Well, it's actually just.
Well, do you know how you can say it's not 6 slots, Algared? It's because you can't have a biopod on one side and something else on the other. So therefore, it is instantly locked out, and it isn't 6 slots; it's 3 slots. Just by the way they've described it themselves, so that they've kind of not logically thought through it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so next question was from Waffle.
Yep.
No, that's the one we just did.
Right.
Jodimo has a question.
Mm-hmm.
What parts of the K-Pack are relevant upgrades to the Idris M? I believe everything is now a relevant upgrade to the Idris M. They've even said they're making the, like I was originally thinking, I'd put the beam weapon on the Idris because, hey, that way you've got an energy weapon rather than a ballistic weapon. That can work.
Mm-hmm.
The remote cannons, I was always thinking would go on, but they initially, when you look at the current chip, they don't. And it was only recently they were saying they're going to reconfigure the Idris so that it actually can take those modules as well. So pretty much everything in that K-Pack will work with the M. So,
I instantly just think about the stuff you and I went over with, like, you were talking about the beam weapon versus ballistics there. If you are going long range and you're going to be out for a long time and not able to resupply your ammo, beam weapon. If you're wanting to be highly offensive and you have plenty of places to go back to, or you want to be, sorry, not offensive, defensive, you'd take the ballistic one. So yeah, it really, time and place is going to dictate a lot of how we, fill out our ships.
But I even think those remote turrets wouldn't have, if you look at the Idris and the Idris M, they wouldn't have originally fitted because they weren't.
Well, that'll change too. It'll be like, how much computer power have you got? Do you need it somewhere else?
Yep.
How much battery drain is that going to have? There's things we just don't quite know yet.
What CIG have said is they're actually adding remote turrets to the Idris M. They're basically using the same model.
Yep.
So if the Idris P's got remote turret, the Idris M is going to have those remote turrets.
Less
the remote
work.
turret is swap over.
That's why it's less work. It's simple logic.
So pretty much everything will work for the M. Is my understanding.
Wearing Pro says, question, with tractor beams now in game, would the Argo Raft be reconcepted to have different role or be more traditional cargo ship? Margaret, your thoughts?
Raft, it's a sky crane.
Yeah.
I see it as being made to to either deliver cargo to places that don't have the hangar facilities that make it easy for dropping off cargo everywhere else, or for helping load and offload out of space.
I think it's clearly tailored at the whole series of ships, the bigger ones. Because if you think about it, they've often stated, and I can't remember where I saw this last, but the whole series of ships will be different to other ships, how it's loaded and offloaded, because it's done externally, right? So every other ship kind of lands in the hangar, right? And they're unloaded in the hangar system. The whole series can't do that because it's space locked, for one, so therefore it's going to be unloaded externally. How would you do that quickly and efficiently? Well, you literally have a ship designed to do that, right? Whether you're using tractor beams on the stations to do it or having a ship to do it, that is how it would be done. So either the whole series is unloading itself with its tractor beams, or this is assisting in it, or MPUVs, all that, all hands on board approach. It's just, instead of having people walking around to unload the smaller ships, it's a series of ships. But this is clearly, well, look, you've talked about Argo Law before, Algared. Like they are literally logistics supply chain support type of system. They would have seen a need to have the whole series of ships unloaded quicker. I don't know the exact law, but I'm going to assume do you know, is there any law on this thing? Or
if there is, I haven't read it for a long time, so I'm not going to say definitively I know the answer.
All right, well, maybe you can look into that and we can answer it down the line.
Certainly, it fits with the
ethos.
The modus operandi. The MPUV came about because there was a blockhead, a bottleneck at their logistical port of loading ships, so they created that ship.
Well, that's what I was getting at. The ethos of Argo, it definitely is in their wheelhouse. So
and so the raft, I would easily say, they realised was a bottleneck at one of the loading terminals. They looked at the problem. It's not us. It's the facilities aren't there. Hey, we'll provide the facilities so we can get stuff going quicker. That would be my understanding. So,
I actually think
I'll do some work. I'll do some reading.
Once we actually see the cargo lifts come in, I think you'll quickly see, hopefully, especially there's going to be a lot of stuff we looked at with space when we did that episode, is cargo is going to be a big thing this year because it's such a ground foundational thing. I wouldn't be surprised that if we see this start to come online, because it would, rather than make the whole system work around the whole sea, if you can start to get this to work, you're not going back to do work that's going to be replaced at a later date. So I'd either see them moving towards the tractor beams on the whole sea or in combination with this. But, we're only, again, we can say we're speculating, but there's clearly a lot of extra detail on the back of that ship. It looks like it clearly folds out. And if you walk through it, a lot of people have come to the same conclusions we have. So I'd be really surprised if it is just a cargo ship as they sold it, which...
I'm just looking at the YouTube chat and I've just noticed Archon DGR says, talking about the Endeavour, that the hospital, a hangar, and a supplies module are your favourite combination. The problem with that is that the hospital's 2 of your 3 slots and the hangar's 1 of your 3 slots. You don't have room to put that 3rd slot you like. At least in the current way the Endeavour's been envisaged and worked on. So will that change? Maybe not. Say never. But
let's see. All right, next question is from Cragon. It's like a crayon, but a Cragon. Says, did you ever specify if all ships would be available to be named someday, or is it only ones of certain sizes? I'll let you take that one. I'm pretty sure it's all of them eventually.
I do believe eventually it'll be all of them. Hence why my Aurora is called Aurora Australis.
A lot of things they do are for test beds, so they only did some ships for naming, and they'll go back and do the others at a later date. It's much kind of like what they did with the paint system and the accessory system for the 300 series, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, this is awesome," and then they just stopped it. But they will eventually come back, so you can do that at a later date to all of them. Well, that was what they said at the time. Yeah, Algared. I assume the naming thing is very similar to that.
Yeah, I think they'll do that, and because they've got a unique serial number as well, I don't think it's going to matter whether the names are, it shouldn't matter whether the names are unique or not. So,
that is my biggest complaint, because they said they have to be unique.
Yeah, I'd like to see, because they've got unique serial numbers, they will change that. But never say never. I live in hope.
Yeah.
Dream big and live in hope.
Fingers crossed. I think we all are on that one.
And then expect them to say no, and then you're never disappointed.
Yeah. So Hook 205 says, question, this is our first Twitch question of the entire day. Yeah, right. Question, will all whales be poor? With 100 plus ships, will parking hangars and insurance fees make all whales poor? What do you think?
Well, hangar and parking fees may, insurance fees won't, because I've got LTI.
Or you could be like me and be around since Kickstarter and I get a free hangar fees on Starting Planet.
Yes.
And I think, me and Algared did talk about this too. There's also buying and renting. I actually think eventually they'll have it so you can buy and own the hangar, or you can rent the hangar. So if you can buy it and own it outright, well, then there are no fees because you own the whole thing. But you're not going to want to buy every hangar, are you? Because you might be temporarily staying there. So I think they're going to kind of lean towards something like that, because then if you buy, you invest in that planet and you live there. But if it costs 52 million to buy one, I'm just chucking a number out, right? You're not going to buy one on every planet.
And I have a feeling that they will change that hangar fees setup they had originally, because they had no idea when they initially said that that there would be backers who have 100 plus ships.
Well, they also talked about org hangars as well. So why can't your org pay some of the fees, and your org buys one hangar system in each fleet, each planet, and you just come in and pay a very small fee or a thank you to your org or something like that, or is it free? I don't know. But they did talk about org hangars. Remember the upside down pyramid thing they talked about years ago now? Like, we're going back to like 2013. We never ever, we heard them talking about it, and they were going to say they were going to concept it, but we never ever saw pictures of it. But they talked about this hangar that was like an upside down step pyramid, is what they said. So you can imagine upside down would be like that. Yeah. Anyway,
I think that's the type of discussion that came out during the lunchtime groups. I've got to apologize if you can hear a drumming in the background. That's the rain just hitting my tin roof. I've actually had to turn up the volume because it's so loud.
We can't hear you.
I can't hear you guys.
I would take the rain right now, though. I'm blistering out the aircon on, so yeah.
I'm jacking up the volume so I can hear you because the rain's so loud.
Right. What are we on to? Same persons? Oh no, it's Mopar225 says, question, any idea, is there going to be a small Drake mining ship in the future, maybe modified from the Vulture? Algared, I'll let you take that one.
Look, would it be nice? Yeah. Will they do it? Maybe. But I think they'll look elsewhere. I think they try to make the ships and the companies have a kind of bent. So if one goes into one area, they don't tend to go into the other. Variation is the spice of life. Yeah. Would it be nice? Yeah.
So you're coming at that, Algared, from the whole kind of thing that Drake's more into the salvage, yeah?
Yeah.
I'll come at from a slightly different one and say that they could possibly do in the future, but they've said until they get a ship in every slot, they're not going to do any direct competitors. Yep. And the example they gave at the time was the Prospector, and they said we will not do a direct competitor to the Prospector to eventually everything's online. So yeah, I would say, and again, if you think about it naturally, just like real life, you're going to see more competition at the low end than you are at the high end. So when we've had people come at us and say, I want an Aegis Kraken because I don't like Drake, as an example, you're probably not going to see that because it's just so much more work to make a ship of that size and caliber. But obviously a Vulture or a Prospector is a lot easily attainable. So you've got to, again, try and, believe it or not, there are times where real world really does help out with a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So hope that answers the question.
Well, I can see an Argo Prospector, a Consolidated Outland Prospector. There's a couple, like, never say never, mate, right? But just, again, you got to put your, this is not to you, this is the person asked the question. Put your logic hat on, and again, So, again, it could totally happen, but just, what's the percentage chance? It's pretty damn low, is what I'd say.
You can just put your speculation hat on and just go wild. Yeah. And every company could do every type of ship, but will they? Yeah. And I think
that's how we
perspective.
Yeah, when
they won't keep them all varied, but
when you're speculating, you start with everything, and then you start to put things in place that just narrow and narrow and narrow and narrow, and essentially, you've got to do that. Otherwise, you just become pie in the sky and everything. All right, we've just lost Algared there for a second.
And Algared, release date is bottom 32 is.
Algared did not get a new camera. He's still on the old camera. He needs new internet. He needs new internet.
Yep. Gator just jinxed it.
Yeah,
It's Gator's fault.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't got a new camera. The M50 is actually not a bad camera. It's a good start camera for.
I had the same one for a long time until mine just kicked the bucket. It couldn't go longer than half an hour in the end. But the funny thing was, before I ended up selling it, after I got this one, I went out that morning and take a bunch of photos with it. It is a spectacular photo camera. Way better at the photos than it was at videos. So
it is a really good camera. And like when I was looking at getting the M50, it was always pitched as a really good camera to start with at the cheap end. But if you're starting off, if you're going to other stuff, then it would go. But yes, I do have a new mic. You want me to start talking Rode again? I love Rode. You haven't told. I love Rode.
Jodomo actually says something that's interesting. Says, I think a Consolid Outland salvage ship would work well with the Pioneer. It's one of the ones you and I talked about. There is room there for a medium salvage ship between the Vulture and the Reclaimer, and that is the one that we keep coming back to quite a lot, is Consolid Outland.
I could even say Consolidated Outland's refinery working well with a salvage / building ship.
Absolutely. It's really kind of funny how it's kind of become full circle, because when we first looked at when the Reclaim was about, remember Dyson talking about a Drake ship that was like a medium salvage and it compressed things into cubes and they went out to the back of the ship. That's what we got in the Vulture. And this was like 5-6 years later. Like he
before they were even out, and we were saying a little bit a cheaper, smaller variation of a ship would be to have one. Takes off a junk in and just compresses it.
Yeah, and that's what we
doesn't do anything else, just compresses it.
I reckon it would be way cooler if that salvage in the back was not in boxes, but they were actually compressed junk. I reckon it would look sick. So they're the same SCU size containers, but they are literally just raw metal pushed together. And if you've got like aluminium in one and copper in another, and it's all sorted. It's an aluminium compressed cube and it's a copper compressed cube. You get where I'm going. It would look mad, absolutely mad.
I'd have gone if it was the one that we'd originally talked about with Dyson. That one would just compress it, so it wouldn't even be sorted. It would just be compressed junk, aluminium, copper, iron, all crunched in together. So it's multicolors. Then you refine it or you sort it. Then it goes into different colors. But hey, going into waffle country, the dreaming country, the Info hack country there, the what would be lovely.
We've got a first-time chatter, so we always pump these guys to the front of the line. So Lieutenant Pepper says, question, are there any information if there are any plans on doing also alien industrial ships for mining or salvage planned? Haven't heard anything though, but I would never say never. It's often been talked about an alien mine, it hasn't at Algared. That's been a very big topic. Where me and Algared kind of went with speculation, again, putting your logic hat on, they have mentioned that they want to eventually do alien expansions. So you'll be able to play as them in Star Citizen, but you'll also have a single player campaign. So imagine they make a Cyan campaign. It's 3-parter like the human version of Squadron 42, but it's got another name. And you play as a Cyan character. So the first chapter is probably dealing with some Cyan issues, and then maybe you'll deal with the humans, and then maybe you'll deal with the race behind that alien race, right? And because they're obviously building out that alien universe, that would be the time that you see all those alien ships expand out. So you'd see the miners, because it's their miners and their salvage ships, right? So essentially, if they plan to do those expansions, Algared and I would say that they need those ships then, don't they, Algared?
Yeah. And I think that's where you'd see all those ships come in. It's interesting that MISC make these mining ships, or at least the Prospector, and the Xi'an have that deal with the MISC with the Hull C series. But I think that whole deal was so that they could get away with just having Hull series ships.
I'm going to do a prediction for years from now, Algared. Chapter 3, if it is about the Cathach, is called The Spirit Wars. Episode 3, The Spirit Wars.
Yeah. We've postulated that for a while. I think even Paul started to come along to that viewpoint as
he
well.
Did. So. He copied my idea and then now takes credit for it. That's fine. The robots. So my running theory that I brought up to Algared and Paul many years ago, and Paul can take all the credit, I don't mind, was that because it's called the Spirit Wars between them and the Cathak, is that the Cathak are robots because they don't follow any form of a religion, so it's a war about their souls because robots don't have souls. So I just thought it was a really cool play on words, mind trick. Yeah. And if you think about it, the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. And to have an entire race that are based on these robots that have been banned in the UEE, I think that's an awesome confliction because it's instantly means humans have got their back up. It's like, well, we've banned you. You guys are broken. Like, and does it start this thing about the player choice there? Does it start this change where robots start to come into the UEE, or is it this even worse where we just go to town and wipe them out?
Indeed.
You can see the confliction there would be really awesome.
Yeah, and you know, people say, I always get triggered by the whole Alani Addison stuff and how people, we'll vote for Alani, we'll get AI. No. She may push for more science and stuff, but it doesn't mean we get more AI as the way people were wanting AI, because UUE doesn't want it. Every time we've gone AI, it's killed us. Every time. Starting from the Artemis. No, the Artemis isn't first. I think starting from the Lemmings accident. Then things like the Artemis. Then there's the Navy's brilliant idea of having AI bombers, so they could so Starmen could actually go home and not be on the Xi'an front for so long. And they all went bung. They all went weird. And that ties in with the Xi'an hatred of AI, because did the Xi'an actually block for signals to the AI bombers, which made them go awry, which meant the Navy had to go hunt them down so that they didn't start a war. Conspiracy theories can abound, but yeah.
Well, we know hacking's the thing, so why can't they be hacked? They are just a digital system.
So the IO bombers had a unique thing that if their signal was blocked, they'd go into auto mode, and that's what they seemed to do. They went into auto mode. Oh, we've been hacked. Let's go on our bombing run. The Navy's, oh crap, got to get these things before we start a war.
All right, this next question, Algared, is going to open a can of worms. Warrington Pro, who asked the very first question of the day, also says, question, Horizon Skyway Shuttle, could it be reconcepted into a Crusader starter?
Yes, it could.
Yes, it could. We can just leave it right there and not say anything else. Well, realistically, that is what the Spirit series is. It was a heavily stylized around that. So taking that style and going down, it's something you and I talked about, the one from the ship talk image, didn't we? And I don't know, that's still where my money is, Algared. Is your money still on that being kind of like Crusader starter, a C0 or a Wisp, as Paul called it?
I think that kind of shaded image does look like a Crusader. Fits with the idea of being a Crusader starter.
Right.
Will it be the Horizon Sky Shuttle? No, because again, as you said, that's what John Crew said. Hey, everyone wanted the Star Shuttle, and we've brought out this, and it was the Spirit series. So
I have no doubt eventually we'll get a Crusader and Argo starter. I think we could leave it at that, can't we? Eventually, what it looks like, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, but I'd be very surprised if two of the biggest manufacturers in the game do not have an advanced starter, and I'd probably go to the point and say, Algared, I would be surprised if they don't also get not just a starter but an advanced starter as well. So there's room in there. Like, we're seeing that with a lot of the ships now that come in. Like, right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we kind of don't have a Drake. Well, actually, kind of ironically, the Rambler is the advanced starter, isn't it? So you've got a variant that's the advanced starter, and then you've got the normal cutter that is the do you know what I mean? Like, it crosses that divide, because that's a base, and then the Rambler's an advanced. So it's all of a sudden it's the most expensive starter, but the least expensive advanced starter in a weird way. And I think that's kind of what the Rambler is, believe it or not. But you correct me if you think I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, that sounds right. Dragotalian in YouTube says StarJump has a great Endeavour video. I personally like their Endeavour hospital ship for some reason. You know, that was just one that tickled my fancy. Someone else was saying, who was it? They were saying they want the Crusader barge. I missed who was saying that in, again, YouTube chat. But yeah, the Crusader barge, as we see, that would be an ideal capital ship for Crusader. The barge.
The one I keep coming back to that's been in my head since we were talking about Crusader a little bit ago was the one in the video. That massive, huge, whatever hell it is, in the
yeah, but wasn't
Hold
that
the Line video?
But wasn't that massive, huge ship more a consolidated Outland ship?
That's what I said. I said consolidated Outland.
Oh, sorry.
I said since we were talking about consolidated Outland, the one I can't get out of my head is the one from that video. But yes,
I misheard you then. That's okay. But yes.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent, Algared. Sorry, I do that.
It happens to us all. Yes. I do it as well.
Yeah. But yeah.
So, sorry, you'll notice I keep looking that way. That's because I'm looking at I am actually looking at the chat. That way, the way I'm looking. Yeah. So yeah.
Right.
Especially when I see my name in orange, it makes me pay attention, but then I can't.
Voodoo Child is next. Voodoo Child says, Algared, do you think the X1s will do well in the class of the Cracked Cup? So in the bike class, I assume he's talking about, yeah? Are they in the other bike class or just a bike class?
We do have the kind of a Dragon Run, a Tofu Dragon Run race running as well. The way we actually work out the classes of ships is basically put those that function in roughly the same criteria. So yes, in their class they should go well. It's why the Acrux class is just the Herald. The Herald is that faster ship in the endurance racing. It just dwarfs all the others. It's the fastest class by none. I think they qualify. You need a time of 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Maybe you and I this year should just do the Herald one. So what I mean is we will do the commentary just for the Heralds because it's an Inforunner. So
maybe.
I don't know. You talk to the people, see if you can pull some strings, and you and I will do that one just as like a a celebrity, whatever you call it, like a celebrity cameo type thing. We can, and then whoever's on work that day can. I think it's Croncy at the moment. Is it Croncy and
this year I know we got Paul because Paul's helping out this year,
right?
As well. I certainly we did ask him at.
They don't come to me anymore. They don't come to me anymore. I said no too many times.
So Paul did the very first Crux Cup with forgotten his name, but Paul did the very first, was one of the joint compares in the very first Crux Cup. Bronte's picked it up since we went into the PU. And I think we also had Expat Brat as a kind of UEE compare for the Hearts and Minds race of Scala Apex, the live file race. But yeah, look, I think the X1s will go fine in their class because everything is kind of rigged so it's within parameters. Either they're slightly faster but have less fuel, so that if you're really good at your refueling times in the hangars, then you can make that up. Others have longer fuel but slightly slower, or they might be quicker on the turns but slower in the straight. So it all works out.
I'm just realizing Bloody on Twitch has got an interesting question there. He says, does Aegis have any starter ships? Well, they have the advanced starter and the Titan, but he's right. There is no actual starter from Aegis. That could be interesting too. So yes, that image could be an Aegis starter. Algared, I've said this before. I would not ever rule anything out. It just comes down to likelihood. And I think the ones that you and I went through, we went through Crusader, Argo, Aegis, and Anvil were the biggest for that shape, language, and ones that don't have a starter, so to speak. And knocks Anvil out because there's the Pisces. It could technically be an advanced starter, so their anvil comes back in. So when you look in it, I think the only one I could really cut off that Algared, unless you correct me, you think differently, is Argo. Like, it just doesn't have the same body
It doesn't have the Argo vibe.
Yeah. So I think the three biggest contenders would be Crusader, Aegis, and Anvil. What one it ends up being, we don't know. I also talked to Paul, and I asked him about, I believe it was the Bear Claw or the Bear Cat, and he said it theoretically could be the Bear Cat fighter because it is known to carry cargo. So don't rule anything out. It could also just not be a starter. It could just be an Aegis, another Aegis fighter, believe it or not. So yeah. Hook 205 just quickly says ISC back next week, hopefully next week or the week after, but we haven't heard anything at this stage. So yeah, Algared.
Yeah. No. Yeah. With the ships, it's like we say never, live in hope, and dream big. And it's kind of like people say, "Oh, what's your favorite ship?" Well, they're all my favorite ship. I like them all. Even the bloody Steel. As much as I hate the ship for what it is, I still like the ship because it's a different take on the game. It's different gameplay. When they talked about it, I still wanted to see what it was like. Do I like it? No. Do I think it's worth it? No. Is it a ripoff? Yes.
It's an ending game.
But
literally,
it's a slightly different gameplay. And yeah, so anyway, next question is from Kragan. Kragan says, is there a variant you'd like to... Sorry.
That's all right.
Is there a variant of an existing ship or loop that isn't in-game yet? Once transport missions come, I'd like to see a freelancer variant as an economy transport using the max body with a front end and storage converted into seating at the back.
I'd never say never either. That's we know there's certain gameplays that haven't come in yet. That's a good point. Why do we need a whole new ship for that gameplay where you could technically take a variant? Absolutely. I would go as far as say, Algared, I would assume we will get, just like ships, we will get variants and whole new versions.
Yep. 100%. I could see variants for ship.
We're seeing it already. The example I'd give you is the Scorpius and the Scorpius Antares, the Cutter and its variants. They're now separating things out. So yeah, I would, we've had people talk about a Terrapin variant and stuff like that. So I'd say both. That pretty sound to me.
We know in lore that there are Terrapin variants. We know there's a search and rescue variant. We know there's a troop transport variant because the Marines like to use it. It's crowded and cluttered, but they like it because it's good for stealth.
Yeah.
So we know in lore those things exist. We know at least in April Fool's Day lore, there is a tying in with what Warring Pro says in YouTube chat. There is a Reliant food truck.
Yep.
Reliant Big Benny's delivery truck.
Again, though, like you start to go back to realism and metrics. I don't think you'll see a food truck in the traditional sense. I think you are more likely to see a shop ship. And if you think about how all the shops are built to metrics at the moment, they're all the same size.
Yep.
It's kind of like hangars. It's got to be able to hold that shop. So you tell me different, Algared, but I think realistically, you're looking at least a medium to get a single shop ship in.
You need it. If their standard shop is 195 SU of cargo, which is what the current thing, that would be the minimum size you'd need for a food truck.
Yeah.
To have that cargo.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Again, because if you think about it, if you're building a shop, you want it to be able to, so you can customize that shop, and therefore that gameplay goes further. And that's when me and Algared started to go into things like the low versus high tech as well. So I don't think you'll just get one ship in that sizing. I think you'll probably get at least three for different qualities of tech. And that's why I honestly think commercial is its own thing on the tree, because they are just shops, but you need different levels of tech. So
yeah, indeed. So Lucky Charms, Execute, Algared, do you guys use joysticks, etc.?
No.
I'm currently a keyboard, Mickey Mouse and keyboard. I do have a HOTAS. I did like the initial setup of that, but the way my desk is, my arms would be up here. the joystick, and it just
I
be
I do a little bit of work with Trip Hall from Predator Mounts. I'm good friends with him. We often brainstorm different ideas and concepts and stuff like that. And I really like what he's doing. So he's a good member of the community. And I've often been recommended joysticks or been offered joysticks to use. I just know I won't use them, so I've never taken anyone up on their offer. You know, maybe down the line we might get an Inforunner that wants to try some sticks, and we'll do some reviews and stuff like that. But I've said adamantly to Algared several times, and I know Algared kind of feels the same, joysticks are not going to be as common as people think they are going to be in this game. They are right now, because we're dealing with a lot of hardcore people that are really into the game. But, you know, like I was saying to Algared earlier today, with that younger gentleman coming in at 21, they can't afford $700+ worth of joysticks. They just want the $60 base game, and that's it, you know. So you got to think of mass appeal. Most people don't have that money. Most people don't have money to chuck down on virtual spaceships, let alone, you know, joysticks and things like that. So yeah, it's hard to think outside your own bubble sometimes. But yeah,
I'm just looking at our chat, and the chat's doing two things: picking up joystick stuff, but also there's discussion on the Terrapin. And Chris says $150 Terrapin troop transport. Added Legionnaire. The Legionnaire is a troop transport or a troop landing ship.
There was a law one,
those.
Yeah.
But the Terrapin,
you and I talked about this, didn't they? Because there's one in law, and me and Algared instantly went to a 2-door Terrapin. So those 2 doors come down, and you can kind of like run out the ramps. I remember us talking about that. Oh god, that would be 4 years ago.
Can't tell you what it looked like. Can't tell you exactly what it'd do. All we know is that a Terrapin that the Marines like. It's like the one for inserting SEAL Team 6.
If someone wants to find it, there is a law post on the Terrapin, and it does talk about a variant, and the other one that we've seen in a video from Jack McLeary is the search and rescue variant. But if anyone wants to link those to me on Discord, I will chuck them in the chat so others can see them. But yeah, right. What are we up to? Lucky Charms? No, we're up to D Jocko. D Jocko says, do you expect to see any new game loops in 2024 or the expansion of existing game loops? If so, what do you think we'll be getting and when? Did you not watch our videos this week? That was nothing but what we talked about. It was the both videos.
Didn't we just do a video on that?
2 of them. We did not 1 but 2.
That's right.
On
one with space.
Yep.
And then we picked up a question from basically viewers from the stream the week before, and then tried to delve deeper into that question.
So one is the gameplay we think that it's coming this year, and then one is what is the first one essentially is coming, and that they're the 2 different videos. So if you want to see them, they're on the channel. I think that's well, I'm not going to give you the answer. You go watch the videos. You lazy son of a bitch, lazy man. Right, or woman, or person. I don't know what meat popsicle. Yeah, you lazy meat popsicle.
Says, oh no, I missed them.
Yeah. And you get extra points if you get the reference of meat popsicle. Do you get the reference, Algared? Don't have to answer it. Oh, really?
No. And do I care?
Okay, all right. You should care. You should know that movie. All right. Anyway, next one. The Rusty Pigeon says, do you guys think we will be getting a game loop for terraforming? Thanks for the great content. Oh, that's a good one.
Ultimately, no. Because the terraforming machines are massive.
I kind of sit here and think, as an org, if you really wanted to terraform a planet, I think they should let you do it. But I think it would be such a massive expense. Like, you'd have to really want it. And what would be required for that? So you got to think about every planet would have different circumstances to make it livable, you know? So that's a really tough one. Is it possible? But like, yeah, but you'd have to have, like, how long is it going to take? Is it going to take 5 years to convert it? You get where I'm going with this, right?
Yep.
And so if you want to speed it up, do you buy a second one so it cuts it in half? You know? And do you then pick up those terraformers and move them to another planet? You see where I'm going with this? Like, that could be an org's whole thing. we'll terraform your planet, but it'll cost you an arm and a leg. You know,
Even the number of planets that still have a terraforming wrecks around them, I assume they don't move them because it's too much work. Ruin Station is kind of leftover terraforming type stuff.
Yeah.
No, chat, I have seen Fifth Element. I just couldn't remember the quote and I didn't care.
I often do that. I often do that to Algared though. Yeah, I often do that to Algared because I know he doesn't know the ones I know. So yeah, that was me throwing him under the bus, don't worry. And you guys took it hook, line, and sinker. That's
but
fine.
Then X still didn't. You know, I'm not sure he's still got on with the nice dude for fishing, ain't it?
Yeah, you'll drop lines too that I won't get either. There we go. First time chatter. Carl Kaput says multi-pass. You get that one though, wouldn't you? Multi-pass.
No.
Right. No. Well, that's also Fifth Element. You fail. Right.
Yep, don't care.
You're gonna have to go back and watch Fifth Element. I think we're gonna have to bully you into watching Fifth Element.
Possible pig.
And we want a video essay. No.
Possible pig. Conceivable. You miserable vomitous mass. You warthog face buffoon.
Yes.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. It'd be Monty Python knowing you, something like that.
No. You heathen.
Yeah, well, you make all these ones that I don't know because they're from back in the Dark Ages. I just don't know. I don't know. Does anyone in chat know what he's talking about? All right, see if anyone in chat knows.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we'll let that run and see if anyone in chat. Say it again, Algared. So.
Possible pig. Conceivable. You miserable vomitous mass. Yes, it's a reference to Humperdinck.
Wow, I don't even know what Humperdinck is. I've never even heard of it.
Humperdinck is Prince Humperdinck.
What's this from? I don't know.
And Michael, yes, it is inconceivable, but X doesn't know this, isn't it?
Yes. Inconceivable. When's it from? 1902 to Algared. Algared, I can't watch black and white movies, mate, right? It's Princess Bride. Okay, yeah, cool. All right. That actually does line up now. Yeah, because I actually rewatched Princess Bride probably 4 years ago at this point, and I hadn't seen it since the first time I watched it was like when I was a kid. It's been a really, really long time. So it's not exactly my pinnacle of movies. I just remember my name is Montoya. What is it?
Hello. I'm Nico Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the best line.
Anyway. Yes, I was almost going to do the anyone want a peanut line, Michael. But yeah, I literally just watched it the other day. I was pulled out the disc and decided I'd give it a go and put it on. It was just such classic music, classic video, music by Mark Knopfler. Did the sound, I think, did the music theme for it.
The scene I always like was the one with the poison chalice, and they've got one's poison and one's not. That's the one I always like. Right, are you back? There he is. He's back. Right, you're saying?
I came butter, odorless, tasteless.
Yeah, that one.
One of the most deadliest poison known to man.
All right.
Plato, Socrates.
Chris, do you know why they would continue to retain the 300i design for CryEngine? Do you know why they could not retain the 300i design for CryEngine? It was just a little outdated, too high.
Basically, because it was so much wasted space.
Yeah.
You open the doors, and that both doors opened up and gave you your cargo area. But it was too far off the ground, so you needed to use a lift to get in, or a crane to get in, or a tractor beam.
There is
had no versatility.
There is also not an older ship from the Kickstarter that hasn't had an update at this point. They've all original 5 have had some, whether it's a minor update, they've all had an update, and I have no doubt that some of them will get more. You would agree with that, Algared? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Luna Mario. Oh, do I have to answer this one? No, that's not even a question. She's, Matt, no, we've done that already. Hook 205 says, sorry, Luna Mario, I'm just teasing you. Hook 205 says, do you think that they will offer new modules for the Galaxy, etc. with LTI? Isn't that what the building one is, Algared? The manufacturing?
I think they will offer new modules, Galaxy, etc. with LTI. Yeah.
They kind of talked about it, and they did say and others. So yeah, that they've possibly got plans. From what me and Algared have looked at, the Galaxy is essentially the splitting of the Caterpillar, where it had originally had 11 modules. I'd almost turn around and say 6 go to one, 6 go to the other, wouldn't you? Something similar to that anyway.
Yeah, and there could even be a slightly different take where one has larger versions of the module, whereas the Caterpillar has smaller versions. So
absolutely.
It really depends on how they rework the Caterpillar. Will they work the Caterpillar so that you swap out five individual containers for one larger module? Who knows? I've got to be honest, I do like the idea of those smaller containers on the Caterpillar, because the original idea was that each of those cargo containers has its own power supply and ability to control atmosphere and all the rest of it. So
why it sounds cool, there's no reason why it can't be one big one that is also self-contained, right?
Yep.
So at the moment, I think it is just so aware, I can't remember the exact number, but the Caterpillar was very shortly after the original 5. I think it also appeared on the Kickstarter, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go back and look, but I know there's those very old photos of it where when it was like this, where it flew like this. And it is in the same ballpark of requires an update. And again, not the whole
where its front sensors were cannons or weapons,
and things like that. And the Cutlass flew like this too for a time as well, where the Drake thing was like flying at a 45-degree angle, and that's since kind of gone away. But I, again, sitting here looking at where the game is now to where it was, it just makes so much more sense for me to roll that into one module instead of multiples. Like, you look at it, go, what is the advantage of the separate modules? And again, it looks like flexibility, right? But again, if it moves to one, it actually makes it better for the player. The only downside I can see to that is, like, say you had a medical module, right? Therefore, you could put, like for the Galaxy, how it's got like one, what is it, 2 2s and 3 3s. Wouldn't it be better if they were all separate modules, so you could just have 3 1s or any combination of what you want? That I can see it saying separate, right? Because that's an advantage. But by the same token, if you put in a salvage module, can't it all of a sudden take up 2 modules? So you can have 2 medical and 2 salvage if you want.
And they might do that.
Yeah.
And you've got to remember, when they first concepted the Caterpillar, the original idea was you could have any number of those boxes kind of added. And they then went, no, we've got to limit it.
Kind of makes it a little bit like the Endeavor in that way, doesn't it, Algared? Where you have a series of modules and it's just different sizes, and you know, so maybe the biggest one's 4 slots and the smallest is 1, you know?
In a kind of weird way, I have called it a cheap man's Endeavor, even though the Endeavor's probably almost cheaper when you consider it. But
they're almost the same price at the moment, $330.
I know, and so that's why it's weird to call it a cheap man's Endeavor, but it's effectively what.
Well, you and I both know that the Caterpillar's in game, the Endeavor is not. That's the difference.
And we know the Caterpillar, and we know not the Caterpillar. We know the Endeavors are going to do balloon in price.
Yeah, more than almost any other ship in the game. I'll be very surprised if that is not the biggest jump we ever see.
Yeah, I fully expect it. And the only way I can see it not necessarily jumping as much as we do think is that it'll jump. The base will jump X amount, and the module will jump X amount. And when you combine them, it'll be the biggest jump. But yeah.
Right, Shempasta question. Inforunners is suggested to get bigger ships with in real life money and work downwards. With changes coming, etc., for engineering gameplay, it looks like the bigger ships will have to be used by orgs. So would it be better to get medium ships with in real life money and work downwards from there?
If you only want to work downwards, yeah.
Yeah.
We've always said, get the biggest ship that you're comfortable using to earn down the ships that you want. But if you're wanting to get a bigger ship, then working up is going to take a lot more time. And so
I don't think that. I actually think the bigger ships are the better way to go and earn down, because you can struggle in a big ship and still earn a lot of money, and basically buy the ships underneath. It is a very proven thing in most MMOs. I have no doubt it'll be the same in this game, and The real risk becomes where you're going. They've also talked about different spaces. Like we heard about this from the base building, where you'll have high security, medium security, and low security, right? And if you're in the high security area, you are far less likely to get attacked. But if you go into you're not going to go take a massive org-based ship into a low sec area on your own, right? So you can struggle through on that high security area. And again, we're not saying you have to do it alone. Even with a lower number, you'll still be making a lot of money, right? Yep. So you can struggle through and earn all those ships far quicker than you could going up. And so for me, there's no change. The whole engineering thing, that was never not there for me. That was always, it's just another role on the ship. But it's like me and Algared have calculated this into our equations already. It hasn't changed anything.
We've always assumed engineering was coming, and we always knew that it'd be the type of thing you'd need.
Yeah.
But
again, if you're in a high security area, Algared, you're not being attacked as often, at least. Yeah.
Not being attacked as often, but the other side of that is the risk versus reward. If you're in a very safe area, you're not going to be making a bigger profit as, say, taking cargo or doing something elsewhere.
Why can't it be you and one mate where you're in X ship doing most of the work moving around and he's just sitting there as a security guard?
Yep. But I still think it goes down to get the biggest ship you want.
Yeah.
If you know you don't want an Endeavour, if you don't get an Endeavour. If you know you don't want a Javelin, don't get a Javelin. But get the biggest ship that you know that you want, and then earn down to the other ships. If you want to get a bigger ship, earning up is going to be murderous.
I think a lot of this came about with a lot of YouTubers talking about it more recently, but I just think they'd never considered it to now. But I also think a lot of people do jump on that negative bandwagon for clicks. So for me and you, Algared, it's not new. I think it's a nothing burger personally. Like, it's just, oh no, my ship is breaking down. I can't keep it moving and retain. Well, again, you should keep yourself in a high security area, not a low security. It's again, and you've only got to do 1 or 2 missions, and then you can instantly go out. Like, if you've got an Orion, you can struggle and do 1 or 2 missions, and it wouldn't even be that, and then you can buy a Prospector, and you're out on your own. But it's going to be far quicker to do that than go from a Prospector up to the Orion. And I have no doubt that's the way it'll be.
And even going solo does not mean being by only one person on the ship or one character on the ship. You can have NPCs. You will be able to have NPCs on the ship assisting you.
Yep, and even that. Imagine you and I go out in Orion and we struggle through together, and we purchase 2 Prospectors.
Yeah,
it's still or we get a mole.
And on our Orion, with you and I working on the Orion, we've each got an NPC.
Yep.
But again, reduces the workload.
Yep. So again, every level that we've looked at this on, everything that this fear mongering thing, I don't know. It started around about December, where I just saw a lot of smaller content creators going, "Oh, get ready for engineering. It's going to change and stuff up your entire game." It's just like, no, it's not. Because they are again, when you do speculation, you've only got to miss one thing and it throws everything out. And they hadn't looked at the different areas of security. Like, every video I've watched on it, they miss 2 or 3 key important things. And the big one is the low, medium, and high sec space. And we now have evidence of that based on how they talked in base building. You go back and watch the base building panel. They literally talk about where you build it in low, medium, or high sec space. Well, if that's where you're building, that's also where you're playing. Therefore, it extrapolates to everything else. Like, so it's not a pie in the sky concept anymore. It is, we now have tangible evidence that we can look at that this is a real thing, and that's the way the gameplay is going, and therefore, like, I don't think there's anything that's missing now that doesn't connect our theory. And it did. It started out as a theory, didn't it? But it was based on other games and connecting dots. And just, I think you would say, Algared, that more and more dots are coming into play where, it looked like a bit of a wireframe before. Now it's getting more and more solid as time goes by, yeah?
Yeah, well, I remember it would have easily been back in 2014 when Hayes first raised the idea of cellular fighters.
Yep. And that's just got stronger and stronger.
And that's basically that whole earn down philosophy. Now, yes, progression is part of gaming.
Yep.
Absolutely. But I don't want to grind for ships. My version of progression is not grinding for ships. It's doing other stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to a settlement and taking that settlement from a struggling, absolute crap, poor settlement and trying to raise the standard up.
It's kind of like
the
reason you brought so many ships over is because you didn't want to have to grind for anything. But now, part of where this all came from was you kind of realizing, wait, I don't need to own every single ship. I can own just the bigger ones and earn down. And it is that thing between me and you and the other Inforunners and stuff like that where these things came about, these talks and these discussions.
I know Hayes was originally like me. He had everything.
Yep.
And he went, no, I'm just going to have these ships. I'm just going to earn down to the other things I want. And I was like, yeah, you can do that. And part of my reluctance was, but what if this ship is just such great gameplay? And some ships I just wanted to keep just to see what the gameplay was like. And that was another thing that fed into my Pokemon syndrome.
Just a really quick point that I want to look up here. So Jay Mayhem says, as long as they don't give people like 100 claims to build, littering the game with camps is not good. No, you got to look at things like maintenance and the ongoing running costs of something, right? So if you've got a small little outpost and it's just you, very manageable, very light defenses, obviously a massive org can come in and just wipe you out, right? But it isn't worth their time. Again, it scales the thing. If you've got a massive mining operation and you've got heaps of people looking after it, there's a cost thing. It's just like real life. People can't... The scale is dictated by what you're covering and things like that. You work it through very quickly. If you happen to find a massive, really huge-ass node, do you just land claim it and sit on it and never, ever touch it because it's just too valuable until one day you can come in with a massive org and set up? Or do you set up a tiny little base just there for them to wipe it out? Well, I'll just have the land claim and leave it there. You know, I've claimed it, and I'll come back at another day when I can actually support this area.
And that's in UE space.
Yep.
If you're outside of UE space, land claims are useless.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
You're going to have defenses and shields, all these extra things that you got to run. That's why you're being paid extra, because you're looking after yourself. You don't have any hand holding, right? You're going to have, like, if shit hits the fan, it's you and you alone. And then that medium ground where you don't need as many defenses, but you've got to hold out because they're going to take longer to get there. Right? What was it? Like, you can't be shot in high security. Can't be. It was impossible, right? They'd instantly turn up. Where I think the medium ones, they turn up after like 15 minutes. Again, I'd have to go back and watch the base building panel, but I think it was vaguely something like that, wasn't it?
And again, that's not set in stone. That's just them speculating, giving rough ideas. Yeah. But
I'll balance it accordingly as required.
But it is, land claims are UEE.
Yeah.
That's where you go. They're not in non-UE territory. They're not in the independent areas. They're not in Xi'an space. They're not in Anu space. It's UE. And I've also got an idea that, that the size we'll be able to build will be determined by how many of us are there, because, again, maintenance will be a thing.
Yep.
We've got to maintain and keep the things up going. Otherwise, they'll break down and collapse.
Power too, where's the power coming from? Like if you're chewing up too much power, you just can't grow that big. Like if you don't have that supply chain of power being brought in, or are you generating it somehow?
And then the more
the more you generate, the more power you need. The bigger your power signature, the more likely you're going to be found, because you're radiating this huge signature. You can see where with risk comes the rewards, like in any game.
Unfortunately, Rooster, no, I only allowed one claim per account. No, it's not going to work because they've actually sold multiple claims, and people have multiple claims.
You'll be able to buy as many as you want, but they literally talked about every single... This was back when they had like 3 million accounts or something, wasn't it? And they literally said, I think it was the Moon of Daymar, and they literally said if you took every person and they were holding hands, like their actual character models were side by side, they wouldn't even reach all the way around the moon. And that was one moon.
All the land claims that sold wouldn't even fill up one of those planets.
Yeah.
Or one of those moons.
So there's so much land, you're not going to have a problem, right? You're not. The funniest thing will be was when one org puts down their land claim and only 10 kilometers away is another huge org's land claim. Because they'll either go, right, let's just work together and not fight, and we'll just help defend each other, or they're going to be at all-out war trying to steal the other person's land claim. Go either way. So they're going to be the funny ones. And you just sit back with popcorn and watch.
That type of thing will happen in Pyro, in those non-government areas, but in UEE, you'll just live in peace. You may not like their design build, but hey, too bad. Suck it up.
Yep.
Like having a neighbor who builds a massive skyscraper next to you, and tough.
Typical Shem Pasta with the hard-hitting questions, though. So yeah. All right. From BMO, from your perspective, will the Crucible be the end of all ship repair and ship construction, or do you see them adding a separate ship for fabricating ships? That's a really good question. I could totally see the Crucible as a ship fabrication ship. Absolutely. 3D printing ships, repairing, right on par with each other. It's one of the things I talked about in one of those videos. It could be one of the ships we see this year because of the base building aspect.
Could we see a bigger ship? Absolutely.
Yep.
Would we see a space dock? Absolutely.
Yep.
Will we own it? Maybe. If we can build space stations, I can't see why you wouldn't be able to build a large fabricating station.
Yep. A ship fabrication, I mean, you and I have said this about a few professions now. Like, whatever you can do as a ship, I would see as a vehicle, as I would see as a building.
Yep.
So
and whatever the building can be a space station.
Yeah. So you could have a vehicle that makes other vehicles. You could have a building that builds ships and vehicles. You could have a building that builds other building parts. It's wherever they want it to go now. Like, it's so interconnected. I think that's the best part. Like, you can sit here now and look at all the tools they've made, and you can readily see how one thing connects to the other. Like we've got to the point. This is what I mean. Like, where we're talking about like connecting dots. It is now almost like a complete web. There's not many big holes left anymore that need to be filled. Like, and server meshing is one of them, but we know that that's possible now. So there's nothing for me that I can look at now and go, I have a doubt. I think I can safely say I can see that this game is going to get there now. It's just time. Would you agree with that, or?
I think that's right. They can take it wherever they want now. They've got that point where you can see all the things that they're doing. You can see where they're heading. You can see the type, but how far they go down that, and you can see they're going to go as far as they can. But yeah,
and it's exciting. It's really exciting to kind of go, wow, for the first time I'd heard all about all these concepts and stuff. But like when that CitizenCon thing dropped and you were able to put certain things in place, and then they talked about server meshing after CitizenCon, I finally could connect all the dots. And I know I'm not the only one, right? I'm just saying but I know you did as well, and I know the others did.
The Squadron 42 kind of trailer video. It wasn't really a trailer, but you know what I mean. But that video was so integral in terms of tying in every panel that they'd done.
Yeah.
Like, you say, you've shown us Space Tech before. Yeah, you've shown us this before. But when you saw the Squadron 42 video, you were seeing the application of all of that stuff coming in, and it went, that's what it is.
That is what was so cool about that video too, because like if you were just a casual person looking at it, it looked awesome. But if you just watched it off the back of CitizenCon, oh boy, did it have another level of context. Well, you know what happened to me. I'll leave it at that. But
yeah, and so.
All right. Rigsy. Oh god, this is gonna be trouble. Right. Question. I was with the understanding with medical gameplay that medical beds come in tiers 1, 2, and 3, and the spawn point beds, which are at hospitals and selected capital ships, can you clarify? Yeah, so tier 1 can spawn.
Yep. So currently at the moment, tier 2 beds, but one's on the 890 and the carrot can respawn.
Yep.
That will eventually disappear.
Yeah, it's kind of like with the red, it had level 3, but they were the only beds in, so you could respawn on those. Now 2's in, only 2's can spawn, but as soon as 1's are in, 1's will be the only ones.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the only ships with tier 1 beds at present are the Endeavour Hospital bed, or the Endeavour Hope, and with its hospital module, and the Apollo. They're the only ones with and the Galaxy now. They're the only ones with tier 1 beds.
Correct.
So
you get 3 points for Gryffindor. Right. Hook 2005 says, do you think that relatively small carriers are due to worries with the performance? IRL carriers take 80 plus planes. Well, it's because those carriers are things like the Bengal and the Pegasus, wouldn't you say, Algared? They want those to be really highly desirable org-based ships. If you're talking 80 ships, that's an org, so that's why the Kraken is a light carrier, because it only carries 5. You know,
Yeah.
it makes sense. You know, the Liberator carries what, 5 things with, you know, with a bit of change.
When you consider that the Javelin
hmm,
was made with big orgs with 80 people raids in mind, and the carriers dwarf
yeah,
that, you're not looking at an org, you're looking at basically
yeah.
combined org operations to run a carrier effectively. Or
The crazy thing is, those ships have been there since like the beginning, and people keep asking for them, but it's like they haven't gone and realized they're there, but you're just not going to be able to buy them. Like, that's the funny thing.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think eventually, is there a gap, Algared, in your head between, say, something like the Bengal and the Pegasus and the Kraken? Is there, like, because they're heavy carriers, obviously. Is there a medium carrier? I think there probably is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just like you got large carriers, and nowadays we've got the helicopter ships. But you know, World War II, you had your escort carriers, you had your your light, basically carriers that were just made to transport ships or transport the planes. I go back to.
I keep coming back to the Jupiter, Algared. I would love to see a Jupiter that is Javelin-esque in size, but you can't. Well, the downside for me is I'd make it so it is a transport ship. You can't just jump on and fly out, so to speak.
Yeah.
You'd have to kind of, like, how I always envisioned it, just so, and I said this to you before, didn't I? It was like they all kind of like hang underneath on tractor beams, and so basically they kind of like, you have to kind of like run along and get into the seat and then drop off. So it's more like this giant flying wireframe that just holds all these ships, almost like multiple coat hangers, so to speak, and the coat hangers kind of drop off, if you get what I mean. But yeah, I don't know. They can do anything they want. This is the thing.
I even look back when I'm thinking carriers, and I think back to 1982 with the Falklands War, and the British were using Atlantic Conveyor, which was just a container ship, and that was had a lot of air supplies for their airplanes, but you know, the extra Harriers. But they also use that as a kind of a point for landing the Harriers as well at times. So,
we had about 3 or 4 people, by the way, say bless you.
Thank you.
For the sneeze.
He does every day, in more ways than I can imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so will we get more carriers? Yeah, but will there be smaller ones? I'd like to see an escort carrier or that type of thing. But yeah, I'd like to see more of that. The bearded one.
Go for it.
Or sorry, the red bear one. Sorry, not the bearded one. You have any suggestions to make the Starfarer profitable in game now? As it looks like now, it is a hanger queen. So short, how you would fix it and make the Starfarer needed for people to refuel, etc.
I think it's only got half of its intended gameplay. Like, the refueling's a thing, but it's you know, we don't have the massive fleet moving from one side to the other where the refueling part of it will really be required. We don't have combat where it really needs to go out and refuel things that are in combat. But the big one is the fuel scooping.
Yeah,
it's just not there. We don't have that gas collection gameplay, which is essentially, from what I'm seeing, Algared, now you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but the whole other side of mining is the liquid and gas part, and I think that's why it's been taken away from the Prospector, because they're going to make a more unique starter ship.
I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. And you look at you also look at the fact that we are in Stanton.
Yep.
And Stanton is teeny weeny.
Yep.
And is full. Stanton is fuller than is probably fuller than any other system that we'll come across.
Yeah.
In terms of stations, planets, moons, and that are inhabited and busy.
Yeah, so you're essentially just waiting for its gameplay, but like Lemming says there, Lemming says it has 1/5 of its gameplay. He's not wrong. So you're calling it a hanger queen, but it is a shadow of what it's going to be. There's a reason why I have one, and I've held on to it ever since I kind of brought it back when it was $175.
It's a Broadway star sitting in the wings waiting to come on stage.
Yep.
Everyone knows it's coming. Everyone knows the number's there, but in the wings it isn't on stage yet.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be. But yeah.
Lemming says again, I freaking hate the Star-Pharaoh, but I still have one.
Yep.
It's just one of the most. It's one of those ships that, like, I know that episode we did on Algared, we just went into it and it just does all these different things. Like, it's got like 20 drop seats and all this weird shit that it's got.
I think
it just shouldn't have.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot though for a ship. Like, who would use that as a drop ship? Like, what? Like, yeah, let's take a giant fuel tanker down and hope nobody shoots us. Like, you know,
and it's
weird.
got that internal hangar, that internal cargo bay is massive in terms of what vehicles you can fit in there.
It is just a really hodgepodge weird ship that I hope they they do some good too in the future.
And it really comes down to when they built it. A, did those stuff, but B, they wanted a FPS ground. They wanted somewhere that would fill that void of an SPF level. That's what it is. So, Northern Trooper.
Wait, let's combine these because they're almost the same question. So he says implementation of hacking or eWare module for ships like the Galaxy, and then he says an implementation of mini farm module for medium large ships. So I think we could kind of put that together. So hacking or electronic warfare the Galaxy. We'll start there, Algared.
Yep, possible.
I think that's another profession where the only one we've got right now is the Sentinel.
Yep, and I could see.
In regards to module, never say never. But I would. You correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I'd lead more towards the Caterpillar, knowing the heralds of things.
I was literally about to say that.
Yeah, cool. Glad we're on the same page.
Based on what we were saying earlier, that'd be one of those areas I'd go, that's more a Caterpillar aspect than a RSI aspect.
But yeah, I think you're probably more likely to get more independent ships as well rather than modules, because that, like, how big that Sentinel was. It was a very popular ship at the time. And e-warfare is just going to be a whole little own espionage thing. I think we'll see a lot more of that down the road. The other part of his question was the mini farming module. Absolutely, agriculture is a whole strand on its own, and it's just one that we haven't seen basically anything yet other than the biopods. So yeah, and you and I talked about this, like, because agriculture also leads into hunting, you know, so. And we haven't even got into farming and breeding either, right? We know plants are a thing, but are we going to get into like breeding of animals and rescuing exotic, potentially about to go extinct species? Like, there's things in the law for that, isn't there, that about things going extinct and stuff?
The Fair Chance Act, and making sure that everything has a chance to develop, which was one of the things that LaSalle in the election was railing against. Had you elected LaSalle would have actually broken down some of those laws, which would have meant you could go mining on Osso, and those laws for the Fair Chance Act would have been muted somewhat. Yep. Now, LaSalle had lots of other problems. Lalani was pushing more AI and support of Archangel Project or SynthWorld. Now, SynthWorld is, I think, the answer to that whole terraforming issue that was raised earlier, because I think the UEE is literally drifting away from terraforming because of a Fair Chance Act.
Yeah.
You want to terraform planets, you want to get rid of the Fair Chance Act. So you want someone like LaSalle.
Yeah. So, nothing to say they can't change the law either, because a
lot
of law things have been put in place to restrict or change certain things so they didn't have to work on stuff, right? One of the examples that's come up in questions before is Earth itself. You know, they wanted to flood it, or they wanted to destroy parts of it, or reduce the population, because then they don't have to model out Earth, so everyone can go, oh, I want to go to this part of Australia that I know really, really well. But now time has gone on and the technology's matured and changed. There is no reason they literally couldn't just take maps and use AI maps of the world to literally do the entire Earth now. We're probably at the point where they can do that. And I had a discussion on, I was in the Soul Citizens Discord talking with, I believe it was Jade, and she's the one that convinced me of that at the time, where I was kind of really against it, and then the more I talked to her, she ended up changing my mind. Where we are now at that point.
I did see someone in the chat earlier say, refer to me as a law god. No, if I'm a law god, then Paul must be my creation because he's the law. Sorry, but I'd say Jade is another one of those law nuts.
Have you had her on a show with you and Paul yet? Maybe you should.
No, haven't had the privilege. Only when we've been doing virtual stuff, the virtual hub type things, and he knows them.
Penny Pen says Soul Citizens ? So Soul Citizens are on Twitch. I believe they possibly also have a YouTube, and they do a weekly show just before Paul does Captain's Table. Is it Algared? I'm not too sure, but I don't know the actual time. I catch it when I can. But yeah,
it's
you'll find them if you look on Twitch. Soul Citizens, and they're on Twitter.
And those guys. So.
Yeah, Griffin, Fastcart, and there's a whole myriad of others. God, man, I couldn't name them all. But yeah, they almost rival our own community. I'd probably say they equal it, at least in my book. But yeah.
But yeah,
we've done episodes with them as well. I think we did one we released in December. It was almost like a month and a half after we recorded it because we recorded before AIE and we kept having to push it back. And looking at hardware versus software, I believe was what we did. Yeah.
Looking at the gaming rigs, and the type of stuff you use to why having that is just so good.
Yeah, so rather than buying an expensive spaceship all the time, upgrade your PC.
There's an episode, one of the episodes from Viva Dirt League, where they're doing the game and the game crap, it's not running right.
Yeah,
his mate says,
Lemming, real quick, if you get a chance, drop a link to their YouTube and Twitter, please, in Twitch and YouTube if you got time. Right, sorry, Algared.
Yep. And so in the Viva Dirt League episode, it's low your graphics settings. No, my graphics fine. My computer's good. Lowers his graphics settings. His character looks absolutely crap, but everything's suddenly running smooth. And it's the idea of, if you want to play the game, then have a rig that can actually run your game. Yeah. And that was kind of the thing they were saying. People will get high-end games, but then not have the system to be able to run them as effectively and beautifully as they should. But yeah, another one of my favourites to watch in my downtime. Viva Dirt League. Nice New Zealand group. Must be Australian, because we all know Australians always take everything from New Zealand and vice versa. So, anyway. Danny, 1988 to 20. Oh, so 21st of February, 1988. I wonder if that's when you were born. Says, have they given any idea on class leveling, like engineering, piloting, turret driving, bounty, hull scraping, perks, and those? There are no levels. You become good by doing the job and knowing your ship. It's a bit like when we used to have the old helicopter mode of flying ships, and people used to rail against it. I can't get into this ship I've never flown and fly it like I fly the ship I fly every day. Learn your ship. If you knew your ship, you didn't tend to have as the problems that people were having with the vectoring and land moding and landing and stuff. So, yeah.
Right. You want to do the next one?
Rusty Pigeon Gaming says, do you guys think we'll be able to tame aliens, animals, professions? We've tamed the Tavaran. We only had to go to war with them. Given that we've got pets, we may be able to do some animals. We'll be able to capture animals and sell them off, probably. I know they've talked about space whales being able to get on them and then harvest materials off their back before they dive.
They also talked about big game hunting. And you can quickly see how that goes into what I was saying about farming, but it also goes into cooking. It also goes into rare medical resources. It is a whole nother chain of resources, biological resources. So
We know
not just mining and gas and things like that, but biological resources is a whole nother train of game that we haven't even looked into.
that we've got the large cow that I think was a native of Terra that just happens to be adaptable to everywhere. Can't remember the floating gas pods. Again, invasive species, but eats rubbish. So it basically just eats anything.
Yeah. First time chatter on Twitch, Chaos WSAD says you can already grab those bugs in the caves and take them with you, like the big, what are the big roly poly things. So yeah,
you used to be able to get the turtle too, the Leyland turtle.
Yep, turtle as well. Yeah, it's just there's so many things that I think there's yet to come. I think we really are just getting to the foundation, and they've talked about a lot about what they want to do, and they've like just the first dot of something like farming, just this tiny dot, you know, big game hunting, just this tiny dot. And so we don't know the entire other side of that. So I think at the moment we're only seeing like half the picture type of thing. We've got to see the other half come out. So yeah.
Right. Lena Maria hates spiders. Okay, just put that in my notebook. Have spiders on.
Okay, Just the Lemming just figured out how to use Twitch as a mod. Got him. So if you're on Twitter there, you can click the heart thing above there on Twitch, and it'll follow the Star Citizens. So next time they're online, you can get a notification from them. Or you can go onto YouTube and just search Soul Citizens. But yeah, cool. Thank you, Lemming, for that. Appreciate it. Right, next one, Algared.
Warring Pro. Has there been an indication that we'll be able to build our own hangars or ships, for ships or vehicles with the upcoming base construction method?
No, but it's pretty much a given. And not only that, I'd say different technological levels, Algared. So we know pads at outposts are a thing. They've really kind of died off in space, and they've kind of died off on the cities, but there's no reason small outposts.
And we also know that just from some of the outposts they've shown us that underground hangars are a thing. So,
So it looks, you tell me if you think different to this, Algared, but I would say hangars allow you to store and recall ships where pads don't.
Yep, that would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that's eventually where it'll probably go. And again, obviously the size of the hangar dictates the cost. So, you know, a capital org hangar at your base, while it's super convenient to store your shit in, will cost you a metric shit ton to operate, where just a tiny pad will not.
And again, that massive big hangar will also use energy, which will give a greater signal, which will mean that people will be able to find you easier.
Yep. But it means you can park your Kraken or your Polaris type of thing and possibly store it away. Or Kraken probably not, but you get where I'm going with Reclaimer, Polaris. I'm trying to think of ones that can actually go in a hangar. There's only a few. But yeah, you'd be able to land your Kraken at the very least next door. So yeah.
Arcane DGR says, any news on expanding the landing bay module of Endeavour?
Nope.
How big do you want it? It can take 2 Cutlass Reds. That's massive. That's as big as 50% of a Kraken hangar.
They also
of a Kraken pad, sorry. And we're talking a hangar.
They also stated it would hold an Apollo as well. So yeah, that essentially now means it's a large hangar. Or at least was that a size S4 or size 3? Somewhere in their ballpark.
But you know, 2 Cutlass Reds or an Apollo. That's a massive hangar.
Yep.
That's 50% the size of the Kraken. That's that large pad on the Kraken. That's how big that hangar is.
And that's one of the slots. It's one of the slots of 3. And I think with that metrics we worked out with Grim from StarJump that it meant the Endeavour had to be roughly minimally at 420 meters, and the Javelin's 480. So that kind of shows you how big it potentially can grow.
Yeah.
And that's the minimum. It's kind of scary. So, yeah. Right. T-Jack says,
what about the hangars we get with our ships? Are they free? The first hangar was free, but there was going to be an rental charge or something that goes in with it, which original backers got exempt from. But I don't think those hanging with our ships, I think they're just a carryover. I don't even know how they're going to do those now, and I don't even think CIG have any idea how they're going to do those.
I missed the question because I don't know where you pulled it from, so I don't know.
Above Jambo Tech, literally underneath Arcane, literally our question. The last one I gave a thumbs up to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you did out of order, right? What are the hangars? Get with the ships. Are they free? Yeah, we don't know at this stage. Is my answer would be. Right, T-Jack, I think you guys were wrong about the path of medical beds. I believe Tier 2 beds will keep its revivability at the cost of lower quality body, something that is easily damaged, etc. Well, that's not what they've said. They've literally said it's moving. It's moving to Tier 1. So
we can only go on what
yeah.
you have said.
Yeah. You are right in the part that you say about different cost of quality. So a Tier 2 bed can obviously repair more than a Tier 3 bed, as in the series of wounds, but spawning is exclusively the domain of Tier 1.
Now, could they change that? Yes, but I don't see why they will.
Absolutely. They can do whatever they want, but we're going on by what they've said. So.
Yep. And at the moment, you're one of the only ones that have spawning.
Yep.
So.
Right, Danny 1988-221 says, I have they given any idea on class leveling, like engineering, pilot, turreting, driving, bounty hunting? It's all skill based. So the advantage of that is you can obviously jump straight in and start playing with your friends day one. You don't have to level all the way up to 60 or anything like that. But what will take you time is the rep grind to get things behind rep walls. So that's where you will be behind, but there's nothing to say your friend can't buy it and just give it to you. So
and it's getting good at that task.
Yeah.
It's a bit like playing Pulsar or
you're talking about if you're moving lots of cargo boxes around, you'll get slightly stronger. You're talking about the small perks of repetitive tasks. Is that what you're talking about?
You might be talking about that.
No, are you talking about that as well?
No, I was talking about if you play Pulsar, you got different people on the crew and they do different roles, and eventually you as a player just get good at knowing that ship and knowing the components and bits. So you literally just get good at doing that task. But they have also talked about if you do a job.
There are no he mentions class leveling. There is no leveling. There is no set classes. You just do what you want to do, and
That's right.
It is a skill-based system. So if you learn how the mini game works, so to speak, like if you become really good at skipping, you are really good at skipping.
All the time, you'll know that ship and know how to do it. You'll be really good at engineering, not because you've leveled, just because you as a player have developed it.
It's real life. That's why they call it skill-based. So you learn by doing. It's that simple. The Rusty Pigeon says, do you guys think that there will be a form of progression of tailoring in game and game loop? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They've already talked about, they mentioned it during the base building thing where they had manufacturing and fabrication, and they talked about building furniture and stuff like that. They've also talked about manufacturing of items. That means guns, that means clothing. That they've now moved on to manufacturing of ships. So I think it's literally everything, no whole bars. I would really hope eventually, and this is a pipe dream of mine, Algared, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong here. I think you could definitely change the color. You know how you can paint a ship. I don't think there's any reason why you can't paint a clothing, so to speak. But I'd eventually love it if they had some kind of system where you could design clothes in some kind of way. You know what I mean? But that is down the road. I think you'll be able to paint clothes, but I don't think you'll be able to design them because it's quite a big jump.
Yeah, I could see them going down the line eventually, where you pick the collar, pick the bodysuit, pick the arm, pick the cuffs,
much like how they built the system to be able to allow you to do different modular pieces, because they designed that whole body and armor system to be modular. It's exactly what Algared's saying. If you could have 10 different collars and you pick the collar, but if you pick a particular collar, that rules out other shoulder pieces as an example, right?
Yeah.
That's the type of system I was talking about, and you're exactly spot on. So I'm glad we're on the same page there. But I think that's a little further down. I think that is possible, but it's whether they want to go there, because what advantage do you get of that over just allowing people to change the color of the clothing and selling their style and design? It'd be kind of cool, and I think a lot of people would get into, like, look at the time people spend designing their houses and homes in other games. Can you imagine how some people's designing their own clothing and selling it? Like,
Yeah.
there'll be a market for that. Absolutely.
And and then you have people copying that design, and because that's what happens even in the real world. But yeah, I could see them doing that.
Medical sans guarantee. I have no idea. But if you get banned, I'll unban you. So try posting a link and tell me what happens. And if it tells you no, I will unban you. Sorry. But yeah, you can try.
We kind like that.
Yeah.
Keep
an eye. Just keep an eye on Medical Sans there. If anyone's in.
Is he on YouTube or?
He's on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
Limited Pepper says, are there any information if there are plans doing also in alien industrial ships for mining? Did we answer this one before? I swear we did, and that must be a repost. And then we talked about the expansion packs and blah blah blah. So I'm pretty sure we answered that one already. It's just been a repost. So next one would be, and if that's not the case, Lieutenant Pepper, and someone else asked it, go back because we answered that already. Kajini Cowboy says, with the new upcoming patches, how do you guys see newer gameplay potential surrounding the future larger ships like the Idris Polaris or even the Javelin, mission-wise or PvE stuff?
Basically, we've answered this because I think this is really tying into that whole fear-mongering of engineering. You won't be able to fly your ship.
Yeah.
Like the same way you did before. But I think it's going to add, I think it's a slight nuance to that as I just think about the question, because that is just going to add to those ships. As that engineering gameplay is going to add to any multi-crew ship.
Yeah.
Because instead of just being a gunner on the ship, I'm going to be able to be running around fixing things on the Endeavour, a bit like in Pulsar or Lost Colony. You're flying the ship and something goes wrong. Someone's flying the ship, someone else is fixing something. Don't see with thieves. You have to go and repair your ship at times. So, yeah.
Right. QINF says, will it be possible to disable and capture an alien ship and save it in your hangar and take ownership or insure it? What about pirates? Will they be able to take ownership of stolen ships? So the test bed I'll talk about this will be the Anvil Scythe here, Algared. They talked about how you'll be able to capture a Vandal Scythe, but you'll never be able to insure it.
And the other thing they've talked about in terms of pirates is being able to basically file off the registration numbers and reapply them. So yes, but will you be able to insure them? And that is something they seem to have implied, no, you won't be. So.
Okay. So Medical Sans said posting links doesn't work. So it's obviously it's been nerfed by YouTube or nerfed by one of our bots. Yep. Maybe link it to either Lemming or myself on Discord, and we'll take a look.
Yeah. And Lemming is in chat, so he's certainly all of that. So, no, Luna Maria, there is no ISC today to our knowledge. So
yeah.
The Red Beer one says, or the Red Bear one, sorry, not beer. Why has I stuffed your name up? No. How can the Starfarer be fixed? Didn't we do a video on that ages ago? At the moment, no one is using it because people refuel at space stations and planets, even Pyro. How would you recon this? I think we answered this question a bit earlier as well. So, its gameplay is not in yet. But they will fix it, so it's not an FPS level. How they'll fix it, have no idea.
True. Right. What do we have to?
Warring Pro.
Yep, go for it.
Warring Pro says, do we need more entry-level starter ships at $25 to $35 price point? The Aurora and Mustang are painful for new players.
I think it's got a partially a little bit to do with the cost of the game. I think I don't know. You tell me, Algared. Like, let's look down the road. Squadron 42 comes out. Do you think that will be removed for them ever being able to be bought with a ship again? or do you have to then always go to retail, so to speak? Do you have to buy that retail version? Or do you think that they'll have packs that come out where you can get Star Citizen and Squadron 42, Episode 2? Like, where do you see that going? And in my book, I think it'll be a thing that you add to what you already have.
Yeah, I think they'll do it as an add-on.
Yeah.
Certainly for people who are already in.
Because they're going to change the price of it too, right? It's like, well, if you've got at least a $45 package, it's only $15 more to get to that $60 price tag. But 10 years from now, when Squadron 42 Episode 1's been around for so long, they might drop it down to $5 because they just want to, an added thing,
Yep.
So it allows them to scale it a bit more. So
yeah. I think that's right. But they're not going to make us have to buy the whole thing again just to get that.
Yeah.
I think they'll do it as an add-on.
Yeah.
But do we need more chips at that price point? I'm just trying to think what other ships. I don't think there's any ship at $25 that's a starter pack. Or as but yeah, I think they give more variety. I think the Mustang is the most painful because it's just a one-trick pony. It doesn't really do anything. But
and a stroke. He'll be back. Give me a second. All right, you back? He's just about now.
There
he is. You're back. Go for it.
So the Mustang, I think, is in the worst spot because it is just that a fighter. The Aurora at least has the ability to take cargo, do fighting, log off. But my beef with those two ships is Star Citizen is that you are not the ship, you are the pilot.
Yeah.
And that's what those two ships don't really give you, that sense of being able to get out of the seat and walk around the ship. And that is
the Mustang. The Mustang especially, yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I love the Cutter so much. The Cutter is, and the C8X, they're the best starter ships in that sense because you can get up and walk around your ship. You can get up and see your cargo.
Again, though, Algared, I think you'd agree with me. Eventually, they're all going to see a rework at some point. Just how far down the line that is, we don't know. But I like look at things like the Aurora. It's still got docking collars on it, for crying out loud. Like, why would a starter ship? Well, again, I guess it gives an A to B thing where you can go connect to a bigger ship and use that like a little shuttle. I can see the advantage of it, but a lot of the bigger ships I think you'd want to be in connect with don't need that docking collar. You just land in the hangar, or again, it might be just a unique thing for the Aurora, and they do keep that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Like, there's so many holdovers from the before times. We'll have to wait and see.
Certainly, the docking collar originally was ideal in terms of being able to connect with the Constellation. But so much has changed, as you said.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. But having more ships at that price point would be great for new players because it gives them choice.
Player choice. Yeah, absolutely agree. Right. The Rusty Pigeon says, do you guys think it would be possible to live like in the game New World to control a planet or zone with politics, or believe it's an all player? Absolutely. They've kind of talked about that before, where players can steer things, but they can use the essentially the AI or the quanta to try to push back on players. So it's really hard. Like, so if players do take over, eventually they can use the AI to manipulate them back, because we are only 10% of the player base and they are 90%. That's essentially what they're using the quanta to do, is game balance. So you don't have instant. I'm thinking about all the auction house problems that people used to have, where one person ends up controlling the entire auction house for the entire server because they've manipulated into their own little thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yes, we'll be able to do that. Very much like, again, go back to Daok.
Yep.
The RP, the Realm vs Realms aspects of that. Same as Guild Wars 2, where they tried to do that type of stuff. They didn't do it as well. But it's the same idea.
Have you seen any games that have done it really politically? I know they've talked about politics in Star Citizen, and I think that would probably be the freshest take. I can't think of any other games that have like a
Eco.
Yes, okay, I'll give you Eco. You're right. You are right. Eco is a smaller scale, but Algared is right that they have kind of towns and cities rather than.
And then you'd make your rules for that city and that town, and
Analogy,
they would impact the area. So,
the analogy is sound. I was saying to Algared before the show, I was playing with Expat and her mum and PC 101. We were all running around with a couple of other people too that I'd played Eco with before yesterday, and we were just out in a starting place. And I was saying to her and her mum, like, this is the closest I think you can see to Star Citizen that's out and playable right now. So if you want, and it was on special recently, I think it was like 33 Aussie dollars. This is probably a good opportunity to pimp this, but next month I will get a date. But next month I am looking at doing an Inforunners, or what I'll probably call it is a Star Citizen eco server, where we will try and get some people together. And I'm probably looking at somewhere between 5 to 10 days of intensive play. So you'll kind of want to play every day. But basically, again, depending on how many people we get, obviously the shorter we go, the more people we're going to be able to get, but the more the longer we can go, the more we can enjoy the experience. So we've got to find that sweet spot. But we did this about 2 years ago, and I think we started out with about 25 and whittled, and by the last day we were only down to 3 players. So I'd like to, I'll put the call out now if you're interested. On the Discord we have a gaming group channel. I'm gonna go in there and reach out to one of the mods and say you want to be a part of the gaming group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to join up with Expat. I reached out to Paul, Loken, and Space, but I'm also going to look at, if you're a content creator and hearing what I'm saying here now and you're a part of the Star Citizen community, I'd like to open it up to everyone in the Star Citizen community, and we'll get an eco server going for a high play session, or a high, hit the ground running, play for 5 to 10 days, and then we're done. And the thing I want people to take out of it is just how much it will teach you about Star Citizen. Like, there's so many things you and I took out of it, wasn't there, that like the cities and the politics and the stockpiles, which is similar how the cargo system works. I would have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, is the closest thing to the finality of Star Citizen, as in what the final game will become that we currently have. But Star Citizen goes far beyond it, and it just gives you a real taste. Would you say that it gives you a taste of what Star Citizen could be?
I think it gives a taste of that multi-crew gameplay that you need. Yeah.
I think someone is not watching this video live, and they've just typed in Princess Bride from like an hour ago. That's pretty funny. Anyway.
Yeah, so I was looking at that and going, wow, what, huh?
Yeah. So
if I had that kind of quizzical,
I was like,
look,
that was ages
ago. I
was
looking back and going, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, if you're interested in joining me for Eco for between 5 to 10 days, please consider it. It is a game that requires a commitment, but you'll get so much out of it. We played it about 2 years ago. I'm also going to try and pull Badges in, because Badges is really into it. So I think I could probably say Badges will come in if he's got time, but he's working at the moment. Expat and her mum are extremely interested. And I think if we put the call out, we could probably get, like, anyone that's in the Star Citizen community, I put an open call, and I'll probably put something, the password would probably be something incredibly simple like Star Citizen or something like that. Just incredibly simple. And I'm not going to name it Inforunners. I'm going to just call it Star Citizen, because then I want it to include all of us, and just have an open server, and we'll pay for it. And basically you guys all come kind of in. But yeah, go look it up on Steam. Eco, there are some Twitch drops, I believe, at the moment still available for the game as well. There's an event going on, so I believe if the Twitch drops are still on, the game should still be on discount at the moment. And they just dropped their big patch number 10, and yeah, I think a lot of people not only will enjoy the game, but if you're a fan of Star Citizen, and you are like I believe a lot of people that watch us during these lull periods, as I said last stream, are very hardcore players. If you want to try and learn a bit about Star Citizen through another game, this is probably the best game to do so. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Algared, or
yeah,
it'd be up there though. Yeah,
I think any game where you're working with other members of your to do something with Star Citizen and a multiplayer game.
So it's kind of got like professions a little bit like Star Citizen, but it's set in a it's not set in the sci-fi universe. It's set in like a grounded reality, and you kind of start out with primitive tools, then you kind of go into like horse and cart, and then like steam, and then the modern age as you try move through.
Yeah.
And you've got all these different professions, and the end goal is there an asteroid coming to strike the planet, and you've basically got to build up the tech to take out the asteroid and then win the game essentially. And the game is usually is built as an educational tool to work over 30 days, but we're going to speed it up because people can't play for that long.
Yeah.
Every day for 30 days is insane. But if you do have as long as you can maybe dedicate 1 or 2 hours a day, you can get back in and use your profession to restock your shops and things like that. The game will keep moving forward, and it'd be great if we could have at least 2 people of every profession, because then if one person drops out, we've got a replacement and things like that. But I highly recommend it. If like you're spending hundreds of dollars on spaceships, maybe take a break and spend $30 on a different game and educate yourself a little bit, because I got a lot out of it. Again, put it this way, this will be my 3rd playthrough like this, and it is the type of game that I'm sure we will come back to again. And I was hoping to do it over the summer, but it just didn't eventuate, because then we could have pulled you in Algared. And it was, the funny thing is, Expat said, I'm free to do this right now. Like, if I could go out and start playing tomorrow, I would, but it just takes time to organize people to play. So the other option is we could also do 2 playthroughs where we just start tomorrow and then literally start playing, and then a month from now play another one. But it's really hard to organize. Like, I can't just go to Paul and Space and Logan and go, right, we're playing this, join us tomorrow. They're going like, I got plans. So yeah, it just doesn't work. And obviously we've got to get the word out to the greater community as well. I know I'm taking up time on this, but
the similarity with Star Citizen is just the fact that you could be a cook, you could be a miner, you could be whatever.
Yep.
There's no
that was
it's just doing the role and becoming better at that role.
Yeah. So just to hint on Algared's point, some of the things are like cooking, mining. You can be engineers and build like cars and carts. You can be a masonry person and make like bricks and glass and pottery. You can be a farmer that goes out and grows all the plants and crops. You can be a hunter and kill the animals. You can be into logging, chopping down the trees and all. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on. But it's like grounded in the real world, not in sci-fi. And if you can get past the theme, you will start to very quickly see all the
and if you can get past the graphics,
it looks like
it's very Minecrafty in the style of the graphics.
It's Minecraft for adults is how I said that, and Expat said it as well. So she's thinking the same lines as me.
But yeah, I might have to suggest it to one of my colleagues who does use Minecraft for teaching geography, which is kind of one of the aspects of this game.
Yeah,
kind of bad idea.
Well, it even has a Steam integration thing that you can install where players can join in the political votes, because there's a whole political system too, as Algared alluded to before. So they can vote, the stream can vote on it, but not only that, they can also see all the ecological events. So if someone's polluting something, it shows up, and you can literally get like tailings from mining, and if you drop it in the water, the next day you'll come back and all the water has just gone rusted orange, because it's just spread everywhere. And you can get it with oil as well. If there's an oil leak, you'll get a massive oil leak. And so it was designed to teach kids good. Like, you don't get attacked or anything like that in the game either. So there's no way that you can die. And it's all educational. But it's just really cool gameplay.
By stopping the asteroid.
Yeah.
You lose if you don't stop the asteroid.
Yeah.
And so it's a full co-op game in that sense. And so that's where Execute sees that crossover with Star Citizen in terms of that working on a ship together and doing those different roles.
Yeah, I'll kind of leave it there. But if I'm really interested, but if you've got the time to put 2 hours aside for 5 to 10 days, we'll see how it goes. Jump on and show some interest in general or something like that at the mods or at myself, and we'll join you into the gaming group, and we'll get that set up. If we get enough interest, I'll get a date sorted, and I'll pull Badges in and pull Expat in. I did talk to her about it yesterday, but she's got her community too, so we're definitely get those in. I'll talk to the other boys. Again, anyone that's in here right now, I'll reach out to Soul Systems. I'll reach out to everyone that I can possibly reach out to, and we'll see if we can pull in. And my hope is we get probably in the neighborhood of 50 people for 5 days. That would be
sweet.
But
Aaron Johnson is clearly a person after my own heart. I'll just say that.
All right. Killed that to death. The Rusty Pigeon. Yep. What manufacturers will be the Titan suits / mechs? Hagrid? I think it'll be everyone, yeah?
I think everyone will do it. I could see Argo being a classic example because they do the cargo loading type.
Well, you and I even talked about this from different tech levels, didn't we? A Drake one would be cogs and gears and fuel. An Orion one, or an Origin one, sorry, could be like battery powered and really high quality.
An Orion one was green.
Yeah. And one of the things that annoyed me, and I said to Algared, I said I got really pissed off when they brought out the Atlas platform because I'm like, they missed a massive opportunity there. Why aren't all the Titan suits named after Titans? So you could have had like Gaia, and she's like a healing mech, and you know, you have Atlas, and he's just like a massive cargo mech, and it just goes on and on. It's like Ares, and he's just like a giant shooty mech, you know. So I have no doubt, much like vehicles and ships at different tech levels, the mechs will be the same. And I really hope my secret kind of surprise for CitizenCon is, man, I hope they work on mechs this year. Because as we know, they're moving over from that to this. It's just something that it's come up every year. Like, how many times have you heard Board Gamer talk about it, as an example? Every 6 months he's talking about it, right? And everyone's talked about it ongoing. It's probably one of the most wanted things in this game. It would be the biggest. You drop that at CitizenCon, the hype would be insane. Off the charts.
And people would buy them, and they'd make lots of money.
Take my money. Shut up and take my... What's that mean? Shut up with Fry? Shut up and take my money. Right.
Yep. Just saw Jay Mayhem says, since watching Algared, I've been dressing up for work more. My boss told me to knock it off. My students were a bit concerned when I started doing it.
What did you do about work? Sorry, what did you say about work? You stopped working as much?
He started dressing up for work.
Oh, right.
That's clearly because you're showing your boss up.
Yeah, showing your boss up. Yeah.
Depends
you know what you do? The next day you just come in like a onesie. You told me to dress down, mate. You gave me all the permission in the world to and then he goes, no, just a little bit higher, and then you go back the other way.
I got to admit, the waistcoat is great. When at teaching, I used to find the tie would get flap around, get in the way. Waistcoat keeps it in place. So yeah, it just helps. But
last time I wore a vest like that, I must have been a teenager. I had like one that I used to wear, but yeah. You know when you go for your funny clothes phase? That was I used to wear vests when I was like in my teens. It was really weird. But anyway.
Yeah.
Jeddah Nor says, have CIG confirmed that tier medical beds the Carrack will end up at the end? Will it have respawn? I think they said tier 2. They haven't. I don't know if that's final confirmed though. But if I think any ship should get a tier 1 that's not an Apollo, it would be the Carrack because it's so far out.
I do believe at the moment the Carrack and the 890 jump are set to have a tier 2.
Yep.
And that's as far as they've gone. But like you said, I could see the argument for a Carrack having a tier 1. Because it is that deep space explorer.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've just cut the bot off. We've still got 25-ish base questions, but that'll get us to the cutoff for today. So if you didn't get your question in, that's the video. Right.
Oh, yeah. Pennypen says, the cutter variants, the descriptions of a Scout and Rambler talk about having more range than the base cutter. Do they have different stats? Website like Urkel and Light don't yet show one having a difference in speed, range, fuel, and capacity, etc. The only one that has different stats is the Rambler, which has an additional quantum fuel tank and hydrogen fuel tank. It should have more fuel and be able to go further.
I think it might also be the only thing I can think of right now is the visual differences is the exhaust thrusters are different. So you've got a really big one on the cargo because it obviously needs that for the VTOL and the weight. And then obviously it drops a bit more as you go into the Rambler, and then it drops down to just the singular 2 on the Scout. So I think as you drop, you're pushing out less fuel. So you've probably got more weight with the cutter, more speed, I would imagine, with the Rambler, and then more efficiency with the Scout. Well, that's how I see it. You correct me if you think I'm wrong.
I could see that being the case, but certainly the Rambler does have additional fuel. So
Yeah, that's
This-
true. Scout does have the bigger power plant too. Yeah, good point, Rusty Pigeon. Yeah.
So that's got the different stats, but the other way you could see it is just that the engines that it have, the default engines, are giving a better fuel.
So the Scout's probably relying more on its power than its fuel, so to speak. So yeah, gives it a bit of efficiency. Right, Henny, no, that's the one you used to do. Yep. Warring Pro, base building inside caves. Rust players use terrain to make raiding of their bases more difficult. Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about this last week. Theoretically, you could have procedurally generated caves by like placing charges and make a cave longer and longer and procedurally generating it. So yes, absolutely. They have talked about building underground will be a thing during the base building panel. So yeah, eventually players will be able to build underground as well. They did talk about that.
However, that makes it, if you can blow passages out and act as bases that way, may not make it harder for, make it impossible to get them, but it'll certainly make it harder to scan them because they'll be hidden under earth. So, and I could see underground bases will be important for places like Pirate, where you've got the solar flare.
Yeah, I remember you talking about maintenance too. The other one I thought about during the week that we haven't discussed yet is once you have the shields down, if you make your caves go too far, they may go outside your defenses, so you're actually creating a weakness. You know what I mean? So, because if someone else knows there's a cave there or they scan for it, why can't they dig down and connect to it?
Yeah, well, you even raised that as something you were planning to do.
Yeah.
Raid my base from the
underneath
rear, down and
just dig in. Yeah.
So,
smuggle all the Uwu girls out for myself. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
I keep telling you, Uwu girls are not a thing. It's an effective.
Just like you're telling me there's no Evercrack. Yeah. I know.
No, Evercrack is a thing. It's a drink.
Yeah, sure. That you sniff. Yep, not sure.
And because of Evercrack, then you see the
Uwu girls. Right, sure, yeah. Yep, that's what he keeps telling me. I'll believe when I say it. Like Charms says, speaking of arms and legs, do you think we will have organ chop shops? Holy shit, yeah, possibly. That's not a terrible idea. We have the synthetic limbs, the replacement of limbs. Could you just buy a black market arm, Algared? I can't see why not, can you?
Possible.
If you're really wealthy, couldn't you just get one grown or printed and then attached?
If I was really wealthy, I'd just have one regrown.
Yeah.
Because we've got the tech to do that.
But also, can't you also just be Drake and dodgy and, hey, this shade of white goes really well with my black complexion or whatever. It's like mix and match. That'd be kind of funny. I wonder if that could be actually a thing. Like where they've talked about in game about how you can slowly change your race or color tone or hair tones by different breeding perspectives, but much like how you do here in Tasmania, they do apple tree grafting, right? And if they want to make a new version of an apple, so for example you've got a red apple and a yellow apple, you can graft the branch onto one and it starts to pass the properties onto the other branch, and so for you get like a mutated version of an apple. Now what if you do that with a human being? The muscle mass example, and I'm trying to get an example, black people have a higher muscle mass, but therefore, you know what I mean? So could you pass that muscle mass eventually onto descendants and stuff like that? And then whatever other traits they associate with other races, it could be really interesting. But there is obviously, how do I put this? Certain people would not like that. They would have I'd call it racial motivation or whatever. But I think gameplay wise, it sounds awesome. It's a science fiction era that we don't, meddling with genes. I think that'd be kind of really cool sci-fi trope.
I think there's an ethical question there as well.
Well, there's an but that's why you put it in a video game, so you can explore it. You know what I mean? If you're ever going to cross the line, and for example, crossing the line is considered bad, right? So if you cross the line, wouldn't it have a detrimental effect on your character? You get a permanent negative stat because you did something you probably shouldn't have. So you roll the dice and see if you, like you and I were saying, where about passes the muscle mass. It could be a positive thing where you get extra strength, or if it rolls badly, you could lose the arm completely, permanently. That's you know what I mean? You remember when we talk about design, like you get the negative and the positive, that could be really cool. Again, down the road, but it is a possibility. I reckon that'd be really cool, personally. Playing with your genetics is not something we see much in games. I know it's not your thing because of your moral beliefs, but I'm just saying if you can stand back and look at it, it would be a really good. Well, if you're going to ever do it anywhere, you don't do it in the real world, do you? You do it in an environment where it's fictional, right? So if you put it in something like that, it could teach people why not to do it, Algared. That's what I'm saying. Right, yeah. Anyway,
unfortunately, I think if you put something like that in, people will do it because they're anonymous. You never need people to. You never need to teach people to be jealous or selfish or otherwise. They just are.
Yeah, but Cyberpunk does a bit of it too. That is absolutely true. So I would not be surprised if something maybe not as advanced as the grafting thing I'm talking about, but I would be really surprised if we don't get something like that anyway, considering they've already talked about you can breed and change kind of where you go and different attributes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've got the breeding, why can't you do it genetic mutation as well? Like speed,
I know they have talked about replacing limbs if you can't afford to regrow them.
Yeah.
And so putting cybernetics on in that sense. Is there a middle ground where you could have donors? Yes, maybe, possibly, but I just think it's a slippery slope. It's an ethical.
I know, yeah, but I think it's the place to do it rather than the real world because you can teach people lessons, and games have been really like Eco, a really great educational tool, and I don't think any issue in life should be taboo. I think you should always be able to sit down and explore and find out why it's a bad idea. And how do you learn? Like if someone just tells you it's bad, you don't take it as gospel. You've got to see it for yourself, right? And to put it in an environment like a game is the best place to do it because no one is really getting hurt. At least in my book. But yeah, yes, just can go too far though. I will agree with you on that. So it's knowing where to draw that line, Algared, and I think if anyone could do it, CIG could. But we'll see. We'll see. Bloody
must be an Australian.
Yep, go for it.
Do you think they'll release small, simple repair ship and what manufacturer is so?
You and I talked about this. I honestly thought it was going to be the Rambler for a while. But yeah, I think there's room for it. But I think it'll be like the tools, unless you think any different. So it's kind of like it allows you to go to the level 2 tools and have a selection of them on your ship, so you're able to kind of go out and change between rather than just carrying the one tool.
A ship that has a supply of materials and a tool. Yep.
The Rambler even talks to that because it's the only ship that I know of that has, I think it has multiple rocket launcher sized weapon racks. It's the only one that I'm aware of that has that.
Racks, and it also has the exosuit, or not the exosuit, the suit locker.
Yeah, which.
So yes, you could use a Rambler for that.
Yeah.
Or flying up, patching up a ship in Eva. But yeah,
we shall see.
Could they do it? Yes. Will they do it? Maybe. Never say never.
Well, let's look at repair. You've got Anvil and you've got Aegis at the moment. I would kind of bring repair around more to an industrial side, so I probably would like to see someone from Drake have already kind of got something in there. It'd be kind of cool to see an Argo one, Algared. I think is where I would lean. What about you? We don't really. I know we've got the raft.
Given that Argo's origin is repair, that they were a rail network maintenance company basically. They fixed up the rail networks. So they could.
Yeah.
Grey Cat would be another one because they do mining.
Yep. Again, looking at major manufacturers though, without going into niches, I'm trying to limit the speculation here. So the two that are in that industrial vein are Drake and Argo. There isn't anything else in that window. I know Misk someone Kelrath is saying Misk on Twitch, but that's more in the commercial vein. Yeah, I'm just going I don't know. You tell me, Agrid. What do
Well,
you?
Drake have the law of being salvage as well.
Yeah.
Argo have that law of being
And you do have that salvage repair hand in hand
So-
thing. So
yeah, I suppose I could see something, but yeah.
we even talked about at one point, wouldn't it be cool if the medium salvage ship was also a medium repair ship? So it actually crossed both, so it was able to do both. We talked about that. What if it's modular? And you can take out repair module, or you can take out the salvage module, things like that. So never say never, right? Did you see the Galaxy coming? I never saw it coming, put it that way. And now we've got this massive modular ship that rivals the Caterpillar. So,
Yep.
yeah. See.
All right. Northern Trooper has a question in regards to the opinion of buying big ships and earning down. What are your thoughts on the cost of maintain and fuel for operating a bigger ship as a solo? Should there be a threshold?
Again, you're making so much more money. So actually, it's less running costs because you're only paying 1 or 2 crew members, not all of them. So again, it's the opposite of what you think.
Yeah, I don't see the problem. If you have a ship, like if you've got a large ship and you're trying to do a single box mission, no, you're not going to make money, right? But if you do the base mission for that ship, you will make money enough to pay your repair and fuel and make some money on the site, and it'll be significantly more than you would make in an Aurora doing a box. That's my opinion. How big a ship you go for is dependent on how big you want to go yourself, and go as big as the ship you want, and then earn down to everything else.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where you and I differ slightly. You just say go big.
Say that again. You say go the biggest one that you can control. Yeah, is what you say.
I say go. I say go the biggest one that you want and then earn down. And you just say go biggest and earn down.
Yeah.
I think that's
again. I think the part I would agree with you in is the biggest that you can afford. That's the part I would give. But like, if you're like choosing to get 3 medium ships or 1 large, even though it's 3 separate professions, you are better to get the 1 large in my book because you can go.
That.
Yeah. Just get the single biggest ship you can afford is my kind of take on it.
It might take slightly different because that's the biggest ship that you want to actually have. If you know you only want to go Polaris, that's the biggest you go and you earn down.
Yeah.
If you know you only want an Idris, get that and down.
Yeah.
So it's that type of thing. But yeah. And Arthur was Vandalay. Thank you for that $8. Awesome.
Thank you, Arthur. Yeah. It obviously becomes a bit different when you're talking Idris too, because I'm generally talking the larger industrial ships like Reclaimers and Orions and things like that. But when you go to an Idris, you're going to super struggle to get an Idris to do. I think it's almost impossible because it's combat focused, right? But if you're using it to do cargo runs, you could do cargo runs in it and get paid a bit of money. It really comes. There is diminishing returns on things like that. So I would say
even the Javelin they talked about when they first released it. Entrepreneurs use it for cargo.
Yeah. So it's more the industry ones I'm talking about specifically. So I can see where you're coming from. There are ones that break that. And I'd say that it limits what they can do, especially combat focus. So Javelin and Idris were the 2 I'd be wary of.
Yeah, well, we're not looking at Javelin. That is designed for or going and fighting the Vandal or do the big org type raid, whether it's PvP or PvE, but it's that type of thing.
But say, for example, you can have a lower crew count run that. Can you imagine going in with the Idris and you just fire straight at the hammerhead that you've got to kill and it takes it out with the railgun? Done.
Yep.
So if you are skilled enough, you can work around it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And the question is, how much does the fuel cost? And I expect if you do the bare minimum mission for the ship that you take,
you
will make money enough to cover the cost of repair, fuel, and make more money than you would on a small ship.
Put it this way, they don't want you to jump into the game and not be able to use the ships that you've brought. That would be the biggest naughtiest, scammiest story that hits the internet. I spent $300,000 on a javelin and I can't play it, and I have to go back to a starter ship. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's the same argument I heard someone saying, that those big ships that have been paid for won't ever be able to be safe. Those ships you buy you'll be able to have in a safe area because they're not going to make it, but you lose them because the ramifications are just so negative. So yeah, that's my opinion anyway. But anyway, Rusty Pigeon Gamer. Do we get more info on? Did we get more info on ship weapon stat rework like it was done to Zeus Mark II? No, not yet. I do believe.
Not yet. You're right. I'm sure we'll probably get that after the meetings, January, February. So they would have better idea of when and where they're going to do that. Yeah.
What we do know is that all we do really know is that we're taking the gimbals away and not giving the option of gimbaled, ungimbaled, everything. You won't lose that minus factor. Everything will have a gimbal and you'll just either fixed or unfixed.
Yeah.
And just live with it.
Which also speaks to what I was saying about joysticks, like moving away from pandering
to the minority.
To the minority instead of the masses, because the masses are going to be mouse and keyboard. Anyway, right, next one.
Danger UXO.
Yep.
I've spent a lot of time on the reclaim of this patch. What is the plan for the drone and associated control room? It will be able to salvage.
It'll go inside ships and salvage stuff out of it.
Or pull out components, or your guess is as good as ours. We don't know exactly what the drones on that will be. We know there are a whole host of drones. We know there's a shepherd drone for bringing people in. We know there's a refuel drone. We know there's a repair drone. Clearly there's a salvage drone. What does it do? Don't know. Wait and see.
Right. Lieutenant Pepper or Limited Pepper says, if I didn't understand it well in the end of the base building panel, he did say that you can do the same thing in space. Will it be confirmation also to build player-driven space stations? What do you think about it? Me and Algared did an episode on this like 4 years ago now.
Yep. In fact, it was after the episode where Disco was playing pool while he was talking with Sean Tracy, I think it was.
Yeah. But again, the connection of ideas, the connecting of dots, you could see how rooms on a ship were similar to rooms on a space station. If they're going to make shops on ships, why wouldn't they make it so we could use shops in buildings, or shops in space? We talked about this in the last couple of weeks. It's essentially the room systems with different containers. A container is a ship, a container is a bunker, a container is underground, a container is a planet, an asteroid, a space station. So you can quickly see and connect all the dots. Anything is now possible in that regard.
When we did that episode, I'm pretty certain Sean Tracy said, what's on a planet is exactly what's in space. They're just literally just rooms. So what we can do on a planet, a planet base is no different from a space station, just in space or on a planet. And that's the same system that's being used. So can we do it? Will we be able to do it? Maybe. If we're building planets, if we're building stations, why not? Or bases, why not? But,
I do think that they may even take the opportunity to build a ship that's not the Pioneer. So if the Pioneer is a fabrication ship, could you realistically take the Pioneer up into space and fabricate stuff? Absolutely.
But will they have another ship?
But could they also have another ship that's tailored towards space stations? They could do that too. But if it's just the Pioneer, well, then they've just doubled the value of the Pioneer, so to speak. Well, at least increased it, not doubled, but you know what I mean.
No, I get that idea as well.
Right. Jim Corp says, question, do you think that we'll be able to allow NPCs to build in our claim if we wanted to open a settlement? No, I think that's very likely, actually. Making your own town. Algared, what do you think about that? He's got the weirdest look on his face. Right, he'll be back in a second. From my perspective, I think you will be able to kind of
do the whole Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yes, Field of Dreams.
And that's the release date for Squadron 42.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I think you'll be able to do. I like the idea of if you build it, they will come.
So
So
just for signal freeze on Twitch, if you put question or anywhere in a question, the word question, our bot will pull it out. But I've turned the bot off because we are quickly coming up to our time limit. So yeah, generally you just, that's why you'll see people putting, like, read what the bot says above signal. There's a bot there called Nightbot, literally telling you how to frame your questions. So yeah.
But we've turned the bot off because we've still got half a dozen questions or so, and we've got 3 minutes of our normal time left.
And I want to get some sleep.
And we want to disappear.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while. Drop Yogurt. Nice to see you, Drop Yogurt. It feels like I haven't seen you for a while in our chat. So welcome again. Lovely seeing you. Drop Yogurt says, with master modes coming, what do you would you think they could make the Origin much more viable by allowing their ships to be the only ones able to power everything, shield, gun? They can do whatever they like. Will they? Don't know. They'll do it for balance. Because the game is all about balance. So you get plus in one area, you'll get a minus somewhere else.
Sorry, I missed the question because I was replying to Expat.
So the idea of master modes would it make sense for Origin to be able to do everything, like power shields, guns, etc. at the same time?
No, because that's what batteries are for. They're to make up for the lack of. So you've again, like if you see it on the lasers at the moment, when you fire lasers, there's this kind of recharge cycle. That's what they want. I
just think it's a balance thing.
You don't want to.
If they allowed that, you're gonna take a massive hit somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so you might have a recharge cycle, and it takes too long to come back. Like the example I'd give is the Santok Algared, where they made a faster firing gun, but it took too long to recharge. So I found it a negative, not a positive. You know, it giveth and taketh. It's like you've got in an RPG where they give you 10 points to spend wherever you want. You've only got those 10 points, and if you don't put them in the places that you need them, you have weaknesses. It's exactly the same thing.
If you take the Santok guns off,
yes,
to put them on something else,
yes,
it can be nasty.
Yes, but also you can put different guns on the Santok as well, and it becomes nasty. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
It's finding your play style and your niche, and that's the best part. We keep coming around to it. It's like an old thing, player choice. Like we're getting like breaking records here, but you want player choice, and if the ship you buy is instantly just this instant win that kills everything, why? If there's no chance of death, why are you even playing? Like, you know, like it just. I don't know. There are some people there are some people that just love to cheat and go in and wipe the floor with people. I've never understood that. I like the challenge, the actual gameplay. It's like sitting down to play chess. Like, it's an old game and it's been around for thousands of years. But why? Because it's a great challenge and it's got all these thinky strategy parts to it.
Yep.
That's why I play games, and I know you do too. You want the challenge.
Yep. So, anyway, jump faster. Regarding land games. Has Sergi outlined how they will distribute resources and how resources will regenerate?
So we looked at, I think the best example of this that I can give you is the one with Tecton and the other geologist. I went out to Cellen one day, oh God, it must have been 2 years ago now, and they were actually talking about the geological foundations of the volcanoes. And you can look on Cellen, go look on Cellen, and there's all these volcanoes and no two are the same, right? And they were talking about the sediment and how sediment would move down, and you'd actually be able to use the where it was to predict where resources were spawned. And I realized very quickly, using the height maps of the game engine, you could also then dictate where those resources spawn. So they could very realistically, using AI, you know how they're using AI to build the maps out of it, is they could also use AI to predict where the resources would spawn. And therefore, even if they use AI, they could spawn it, not just to say there's a volcano. It's just not, okay, this same node will regenerate every single time, but it will respawn in an area over time. It's insanely cool. So it's not like World of Warcraft where, oh, that node's there, I've mined it, I'll be back in 10 minutes when it respawns. You'll never know where it'll respawn because it might be on that volcano one day and that volcano 10 kilometers over there the next. That's awesome. And then again, that's just mining. plants,
And
animals.
you'll
It goes on
you'll
and
also
on.
remember around the same time there was the video that Tony Z showed of the way in which the resources were mapped out. And I remember the geologist went, "Wow, that's just like you'd expect."
Mm.
So you saw the way the flow was there,
Yep.
and so what they were seeing, what they were expecting, was what was actually being demonstrated as well. So yeah, and I think they'll respawn that way. I do know they did talk about resources would be limited.
Yep.
Um,
I can give a little bit of the tip of the hat. This is another thing I've learned from Eco. Different geological areas had different stone in it. So if I wanted to find gold, I either had to go under a mountain or into a rainforest and go deep because of all the way fossilization occurs in deep forests. If I wanted copper, I had to go into like deserts and stuff like that. It's the same thing in Star Citizen. You would have certain planets or biodomes or ecological areas where, again, a certain desert may have very different mining resources to a frozen planet, Algared, right? Same thing, yeah. So you get your broad strokes where, okay, it's an ice planet. I'm more likely to find X here, but then if I go to this really particular water-based frozen area, I'm more likely, again, zooming in, so to speak, to
I
find.
might be able to get X component that I need.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Unknown Guardian says, "Do you think the idea of naturally grown player-built villages, towns, cities is feasible?" Yes.
I actually brought that up and almost got laughed out of the room about a year ago. I did it on a Space Tomato podcast, and I literally said, I can see that like cities would grow out as the population grows, and then shrinks and have derelicts, and you'd even have buildings that are built. And I think it's all possible with how they've done the system. I can't see why they wouldn't. It's such a win for dynamicness. Why wouldn't you do it? And again, if you have a small outpost, can't a small outpost eventually grow to a certain size where you get like a foundational building, like a town hall that you put down, and then from that town hall it goes from this free built building system to a lockdown grid system, and the city rolls out from there. 100%. So they're working.
100%.
Yeah.
I know guilds, like, right. I know, yeah, we talked about that type of stuff years ago.
Yeah.
Building a city and having people build,
Yep.
Having the org in that area and building and living and stuff.
Yep.
Then having NPCs, I said it before, if you build it, they will come. And I think, if you build an area and you've got a demand for a resource, you'll have NPCs coming to service that because they will do that.
Think about all the gameplay that comes out of that too. Like, I want to be a town planner. I want to be able to run tram lines for Lawville. I want to be able to be the sewage pipe planner for the buildings and stuff. Like, you see all the jobs that pop up from this, and if you're not doing it, an AI is doing it. Can I stuff up Lawville by stuffing with their sewage system to the point that the civil people unrest gets to such a level that Lawville revolts? See where I'm going here, right? The emergent gameplay that comes out of it is bananas.
You're as bad as Paul.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just I picked Lawville. I picked Lawville.
Run a rebellion on Lawville. You guys are hopeless.
You're getting off topic because I want to make how important that emergent gameplay is, right? Change it to any other city then, right? But the point I'm getting at is like all the effects that you can have on a city. You know how as a population
increases, if you don't have the resources to maintain those abilities, it'll shrink.
But the bigger a population is, the more people you need to run that population. So a single lone outpost that's just nothing. But then a big city, it gets bigger and bigger, but you get more, the more risk versus the reward. This goes back to that other content creator that was saying that a single seat fighter is the apex of this game. Absolutely not, because it would explain that a single lone person at their outpost is the apex. No, that's completely wrong. A massive city player controlled would be the apex of this game from a town perspective. It would be insane because all the work that you would have to do to keep it running. But the rewards...
It's the gameplay that I've talked about that I look forward to is going to a settlement or starting a settlement, but it's absolutely crap. that is struggling, that's got broken glass and windows at one of those abandoned outposts, and see if you can raise it up to the point where it is no longer an abandoned outpost or a struggling outpost. It's a thriving outpost.
Okay, so based on what Algared just said, you
down.
can look forward to the settlement or the town and hopefully city of crap on Hurston or Lawville coming soon.
Won't be a city of crap.
You called it. You said the city of crap.
No, I said
the town of crap.
I give up.
Yeah, that's what he's going to call it. Welcome to Craptown. Algared, the mayor of Craptown. Can we quote that? Yeah, I think we can. Anyway. Right, next one. Hemper's Henny Pen says, with carriers like the Liberator, repair, rearm, refuel, like the Vulcan or Crucible, what should the Starfarer rework do? So much chat about the internal layout, but its role/function is outclassed by these other ships that do multiple things. Man, the Starfarer does probably a lot more than most. Yeah.
It's not only a refueler, it's a refinery and a fuel and a scoop.
And you can put the square boxes on it to make it a cargo ship.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, and you correct me if you think this analogy is bad, it's almost like modules without the module. It's a weird way of saying it.
No. Oh no.
No?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's weird.
They talked about liquid containers for it as well.
Yep.
So you could take liquid, not just gases.
Well, that's the default. The default of the liquid gas containers, but you can put square ones on that allow it to do
square
solids.
ones on and do hard cargo. I would expect the rework to actually get rid of the cavernous cargo hold, personally.
Yeah, that for me makes a lot of sense, to be honest. I think
if you've got the square box, the square cargo box rates, you don't need to have the cavernous cargo hold.
You can downside it a little bit, but the downside to removing that cavernous cargo hold, or at least a rework of the cargo hold, is you can't put rocks in it. And I think they do want to have, now where time's gone by, I can totally see that as a thing where you go down to do liquid gas mining, and while you're doing that, you either send out rocks for solids, or whatever the vehicle that does gas mining is.
You go hunting for your quantanium, and
because you're going to be able to scan for gas and liquids, but if it's down in a cave, how do you get it? Well, that makes a lot of sense. Have a little vehicle in the cargo bay that you trot out, and it goes down and grabs it for you, brings it back, you refine it, and boom, you're off to the races.
Yep. But even a vehicle that can harvest quantanium, bring that back, and it can refine that as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah, it does a lot more than we can see at the moment, because it's only got the refueling component at the moment, and unfortunately for refueling is half broken, because when you're connected, especially certainly if you're in atmosphere, the ship at the back starts to drop, and so you break your connection. But yeah, it does a lot more than we think, but it is a horrible FPS level.
Hey, expert. Right. Lux Oz says, do you think that the Connie Aquila will get an update in the coming year? My finger is on the melt button after 5 years. Wow. No, I don't think it will, but I think it eventually will.
I think it'll eventually get one.
I think the closest you would get to an update this year would possibly be the scanning gameplay, Algared. I think that would be what you'd be looking for with an Aquila, wouldn't you, this year?
Yeah, I think the scanning gameplay will be a bonus for any of those ships with a scanner. And a proper, not just the normal ship scanner, but any ship with a actual scanning station. So the MSR, the Terrapin.
So I would go this way too, is you have to be very patient with this game. That's just kind of how it is. So wait and see how scanning rolls out, and if you don't like it, then consider getting out. The other option I would also has is a CCU exit strategy. So if there is another ship you're remotely interested in, look at going up to something above, find a gameplay that interests you. Another explorer, like why not the 600i? Why not the Carrack? Like, is there another explorer you can turn it into that's more into your wheelhouse?
Yeah. And I expect down the track we'll see it get we'll get that midsection phoenixized, so it'll have a deck and science labs and other stuff in there just to make it more sciencey.
Right, so Expat's got a question there, Algared. Wonder if the 600i interior is in the works, or is it in the background? What would you say on that? I think I know my answer, but you tell me.
I think it's in the background at the moment.
Yeah, I think they kind of showed it as concept to show you what they're intending to do, because it's already in game and working. But I think
It's low priority.
Yeah, it's low priority. I think getting older ships in that not even in the game are probably a high of a priority right now because of the complaints they're starting to get. And I think that they're shown that what they're intending to do with the 600i, it doesn't really need to come in until it's done. But that I think what they're showing you there is what they intend to do when they do the gold pass. And as one of the other questions we had today, that is on the cards. And we'll probably learn about that in short suit after the meetings, yeah, Algared, that they tend to have around January.
Yeah,
so.
I think that'd be something that'd be likely.
Yeah, and
but yeah,
another one, someone Flying Virtual said, plus it's the year of RSI. Absolutely. I would agree with that. So you're more likely to see RSI stuff this year. Don't say that will be the only things you see, but I think high chance, yeah.
Yep. But I think the ships that, like you said, the ships that are already in game and are flyable and usable and doing and able to do stuff are going to be low. Are going to be the lowest priority in terms of stuff they do. Unless the ship is broken and not working, they're not going to refit.
Yeah.
And that's why the Starfarer hasn't been done yet, I think, because it's in game. You can use it. It does a job. Is it the way they want it to be? Absolutely not at all. Are they going to repair it or fix it? Yes.
Just in regards to the Connie Aquila question, though, when they come back around to do the Connie, I think it will be one of the best ships in the entire game because it's Chris Roberts' favorite ship. That simple. Like, I've held on to my Connie all this time. And I just have a normal Andromeda because I think it's the best variant. But if you like the Aquila, you do you, right? But I actually reckon that Aquila will come around again. I reckon they'll all come around again, including the Phoenix. I think they will all, like the Phoenix, rise from the ashes. And they'll probably
Mario, we know you like RSI.
Yeah, they'll probably be one. They'll probably be one of the best series of ships in the entire game.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done.
Don Crew, I think it was last year or the year before, said it got his name.
Yeah, it's got the man. I think he literally said it. I think he literally said the words to the exact effect were, "It's got the man's name on it." Yeah.
So it's going to be a good ship.
Yeah.
You know, so
right.
Yeah. So
down to the last 5 questions. Daimako says, years ago, Sergio was talking about asteroid hangars. Do you think that they will be still coming or planning to make bases in them? Yeah, there's still a thing. VFG Industrial Asteroid Hangar is still in the game. It'll still be there. Just give it time. Right. SC Kaboom TV says, what modules do you expect for the Javelin? Will one module of the Javelin be better than the Galaxy ones? Well, we don't know.
If you wanted my guess, yes. But
the way you and I usually go about this is we go look at the role of the ship and what modules would enhance that role. So one of the ones, like the Carrack one's easy. It's an Explorer. It's got a cartography room. It's got medical beds and it's got repair. Well, just expanding on that gameplay, they're the modules I'd expect. So let's look at a Javelin. It is a combat ship, a destroyer, and it's got, it's a military
and it already
army.
has a brig and a hospital and that. What's it going to have?
So we talked about a brig one. We talked about what if it could actually. It also has another ship in it, like I think it holds a Redeemer. So what about a hangar module? We talked about a barracks module. We talked about an armory module. Like we went through a whole bunch of them, and it's pretty easy to work these out because it's just logical. It's not like you're going to see something random, a cow farmery agriculture module on a Javelin. It just doesn't make any sense, right? That's like saying I want a clown car on my Javelin. It just doesn't make sense. But again, you can quickly see, will we get all of these? No, but you can see it'll be in the wheelhouse of what it is. It's like saying I want to be able to mine in my Cutlass Red. It's just not going to happen because that's not what it's designed for. So
years ago, you could have put mining heads on your weapons and mined and done other stuff, but that changed years and years ago as well.
There's a good one. Someone says a Titan suit charging room. Yeah, absolutely. Why couldn't you have a Titan suit dropship type of module where the Javelin flies over and you just get deployed in the atmosphere from your Titan suit and then rocket pack and land, So yeah.
Which ship in law, and I don't know the answer to this. I'll have to see if I can dig it up. But which ship in law is there drops for nails?
Well, that's the funny thing. The very next one after Kelrath that said Titan Suit Charging Room was Nail Launch System. But
Yeah.
they have said that they will not be giving the Nail Launch System to players. So
Which ship in law drops the nails?
yeah.
You know, so if a Javelin does that, then theoretically there's a Javelin module for dropping the nails.
I will be
I
really
do know in law there is at least a module or modules for luxury, because one of the Meza Imperators was scared of being assassinated, and so kitted out a Javelin as a luxury ship.
Do you remember when I talked to you about how I wanted there to be a scene in Squadron 42 somewhere that's like that scene in Star Trek, where the Enterprise is coming in crashing and they're deploying out, and then so you're coming down in, well, I've just kind of realized that's what it's going to be. It'll be nails. They're in Squadron 42, so at some point we'll be in a nail traveling down onto a planet in a kind of drop pod scenario.
Yeah, probably.
That's what it'll be. That'll be sick. And then land and straight into combat. It'll be sick.
Yeah, I could see them doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what could you do on a Javelin? I think the Javelin's pods will be better because they're rooms rather than modules.
Yeah.
So
modular rooms. It's the same thing. A room system, it all counts.
Six big rooms. That's that's a big ship.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There better be an Admiral module for you, Algared. Admiral Algared. He's coming to stay in your Javelin. You better do the swanky thing. Right.
I did get that title with SCA, Admiral Al.
Right. JS says, odd question. Are there any good, unique hand gestures from New Zealand, Australia that would like to see added to SMAtes? G'day, mate. Hang loose.
Bloody flies.
Bloody fly. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Flies. But yeah, we just say g'day, or and that's a non-verbal thing. Like you'll just do that from 100 meters away. Just go, yeah, see you, mate. That could be a wave too. But yeah, I think the thumbs up's a very an Australian one.
I think it's a pretty generic one. I would have just thought it was it, but yeah, maybe it is Australian.
Yeah.
But
tip of the hat. Sometimes you'll say that too, but that's an English one that's brought down here. Yeah.
Yeah,
nothing too
fancy. Don't know what New Zealanders do, so
I want a rock paper scissors emoji. That one. That so we can.
But that's only good if you pick which one you're doing.
No, but you play it in game, so you go one. So basically, when you click at the same time, it's like 1, 2. Like it syncs up. So someone goes, "I want to play rock paper scissors." They come over and go, "Yeah, I want to play rock paper scissors too," and it says now pick, and then it just goes 1, 2, 3, bang.
Yeah. But you've got to be able to pick. It's not just a random one that just goes, not just one that just always does scissors. You want it to be either you choose or it's random.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, a random option is a good one too, because then it would be a good way to break ties. It's like, well, I'm not picking. I'm just going to let the computer do it for me. Yeah, good idea.
So,
right. Hook 20, unless you got another one you want to add?
Nope.
Hook 205 says, question, do you think my episode 1 comes with 2 and 3? We would have to know what version you have, but nobody has 2 and 3. There are people that have 2, so if you have Legacy Alpha, it comes with 2, but nobody has episode 3. At least stated by them. That may change if they decide to do multiple accounts or blah, blah, blah. But at the moment, the only one that has episode 2 is Legacy Alpha, and I believe it's called Behind Enemy Lines, Algared, yeah?
I believe that's what they call it in the. Oh, you'd have to go to the stretch goals, but I believe that's right.
Right. Brandon Dallin says, sorry if this has already been talked about. I joined the stream late, but question, with the Saber Raven rework, do you think that they will release a new way to purchase the ship, new promotion? I think there's a legality around Intel, and I don't ever remember anything about a rework. Do you, Algared?
I can't recall a rework.
Eventually it'll get its pass, if you mean pass or gold pass. Yeah. But yeah, there's a legality around it with the way
we get similar to it. Absolutely.
Probably.
The same. Who knows? But it all depends on what the promotion details were for that.
Right, final question of the day. JC Kaboom TV says, once Star Citizen releases, will fleets be locked or no more melting? Yeah, I'd eventually assume that they'll be
I
locked.
expect that'll be the case eventually.
Mm.
But we won't be melting. But I also expect they'll give us a lot of warning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
We've even talked about it, like a month before release or whatever. They just open everything and you can shop and chop around to your heart's content. But they may not do that too. But like, it's the only thing I can think of that would stop player remorse. You know, if you're like, I want to get a javelin, but I can't get a javelin because you've limited it all these years, but I've got the money and credit sitting there. Let me buy a javelin, and it's the month before the rest of the. All right, you can have a javelin. You know, because they're not raising money anymore. They're trying to finalize stuff to get the doors open. So it goes from money raising to just keeping everyone happy. I don't know. That's a what
yeah,
if.
I think they'll still sell ships, but I don't think we'll be melting. We'll be just buying.
I think it'll be like you see in other games. So like right now they've gone from 3 months to 6 months, but when the rock went in, 3 months later it was available in game, and now you're seeing a 6 months credence where you buy a ship for cash, and then 6 months later you can buy and rent it in game type of thing. And I think that makes a lot of sense. So you get a 6 months exclusivity of being able to fly around that ship, but then you also get it for free, so to speak, as in you don't have to buy it in game. You brought it with cash, but the person, when it's available in game, they have to buy it for Alpha UEC. So they really, not only do you get an exclusive, they also have to kind of buy it. So, and you'll probably get a skin or something too.
The other thing is that
do you think you'd get a skin or something too as well?
they might give skins. I think what we'll get is ships we buy with cash, even after the game launches. I think will still come with LTI. But anything we buy in game, you'll just have to use ship insurance. And if you lose it, if you lose it without insurance, you've lost it.
Yeah, absolutely
but
agree.
I don't think, but the ships we pay with cash will just be, yeah.
Alrighty.
Anyway, that's just that thought.
Yep.
And that's the last question. Woohoo!
That is the last question.
Right. Again. 8:30. Even though we cut it off half an hour beforehand.
Oh, 8:20. But yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, well.
I'm just having a quick look here on Twitch to see who is streaming.
Looking for someone to raid?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So, trying to find someone we haven't raided in a while.
I just also Rusty Pigeon Gaming Channel. Yes, thanks, guys. Nice content. Yeah, I do think our discussion, question, answer sessions, this show ranges all over.
Yeah.
The mighty jewel, it ranged all over.
Might raid
good masters.
Bogus Nogus, because I haven't raided him before. I did. Oh, you guys might be able to hear that.
So I'm just gonna
close that real quick. But yeah, if we raid him, ask him if he'd be interested in playing Eco with me and Expat. That's what I'd like to know, and tell him I'll drop by to say hello in a bit. Right, so setting that up for Twitch. So there we go. All right. So YouTube say goodbye to Twitch. Twitch say goodbye to YouTube.
Twitch.
Yep. Oh, thank you, Nasty Burger, for the subscription at tier 1. Man, I only just saw that. So yeah.
It
all right.
literally just popped up.
It just popped up. Yeah. Sorry, bad timing. My bad. All right. See you, Twitch. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Okay, guys. Bye.
And they're gone.
They're gone. So now we're just left with YouTube.
Yeah, as for YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone that went an extra mile on Patreon at the end of the credits.
I remember this week. Not to try and do it early before you got rid of Twitch.
Okay, cool. No
I remember.
It's fine. All right, Algared and I will try and get an episode out to this weekend as well. We don't know what it's going to be on. I do have an idea for one though, Algared, I want to talk to you about. But other than that,
talk about that briefly afterwards.
Yep. We love you guys too. Thank you for everything. We're looking forward. We are working on to possibly getting to wherever CitizenCon will be this year as well. It's just going to be a financial thing. I think we can promise you at least one of us will be there. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. So we'll go from there. All right. He's been Algared.
Keep and execute. We're out of here. Take care, guys.
See you, citizens.